All right, welcome everybody to our Town of Hope Mills Department Head Budget Priorities Meeting 2025. Call the meeting to order. Please all rise for invocation and blessing of the food, and remain standing for pledge of allegiance.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for your blessings. We thank you for continuing to watch over each of us and our families and our town. We ask that you be with the board during this meeting today, the department heads as they're talking the business of the town and what's planned for the future. We ask that you be with the folks in California and all the first responders and all the homeowners and people that are out there facing that difficult time. We thank you for this food. We thank you for what it will mean to us and the blessing that it brings to us tonight. Again, for your many blessings, we are so grateful. For your holy and precious name we do pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Before we get to the opening remarks, the approval of the agenda, do we have an addition or deletion to the agenda?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to add a closed session to, I'd like to add a closed session pursuant to NCGS 14338.11A5 to establish or instruct the public body staff or negotiating agents concerning the position to be taken concerning the acquisition of real property.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor? Seeing none opposed, motion carries. We'll be in closed session momentarily. We'll be back. Staff, and go ahead and help yourself. We could be a little bit, or we could not be, but don't want to hold up dinner plans for anybody until we get back. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, those that are in the audience and those that are watching this live stream. We have returned to closed session. We're back into open session. Mayor Pro Tem Dr. McCray, you have a statement to read?
Yes, Mayor, I would like to make a motion to enter out of closed session. And I would also like to make a motion to authorize the town manager to inform the property owners of 5770 Lady Lane Road in writing that we, the town of Hope Mills, would like to withdraw our offer.
We have a motion. We have a second. The motion is to authorize the town manager to withdraw the offer at the address on Lady Lane that the previous board approved. Is that it? All in favor? Seeing none opposed, the motion carries. All right, we move on to priorities presentation under item 2. Chancellor, lead us off.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to welcome everybody here tonight to the Town of Hope Mills Department Head Budget 2025 priorities.
Chancellor, hold 1 minute. I have a point of order that we didn't finish the rest of the closed session.
Mr. Mayor, I would also like to move to seal the minutes of the closed session to such time as the release of the information would no longer frustrate the purpose of the closed session.
Thank you. Now we got it. All right.
Again, I'd like to welcome everybody to the 2025 priorities department head budget meeting. And as the mayor spoke about success, vision plus growth plus engagement equals facilitation. But the first step to success is knowing your priorities. And so as we go forward, I would like to highlight something that we talked about last year. What is a priority? It's a fact or condition of being regarded or treated as more important. It's a thing that's regarded as more important than others, and it's the right to take a precedent or to proceed before others. In terms of continued progression, Mayor spoke about this new approach, and it paid dividends last year. This is a new approach that we adopted. And it provided our department heads with an opportunity to present their budget priorities for the approaching fiscal year, but it placed our elected officials in a unique position to have the ability to guide the future growth and development of our town in a way that had never been done before. And again, this is probably we're coming out of one of our most successful years in Hope Mills. What you'll also see is that as the department heads present, they'll briefly discuss some of the things that they aren't bringing back to you this year because we accomplished them last year through this process. So from the administration side, the administration consists of myself, Town Clerk Ashley Wyatt, Deputy Town Clerk, Public Inspection Officer, Administrative Assistant Ronald Reagan, and our receptionist that we put in place as a recommendation of Commissioner Marley's last year priority dinner. From the administration side, we have three from the manager side, and I'll transition to Ashley after I finish. But from the manager side, my three priorities are legislative, and I'm going to continue to push the 4-year staggered terms. Is something that I think builds the continuity there. As our finance director talks about bond referendums and things of that nature, it's the continuity and stability is brought to the town. We've actually explored options of researching other municipalities and how many in North Carolina and outside actually have 4-year staggered terms. So that remains one of my priorities. Branding, I do think that if we created a more robust branding campaign, it allows us to create an identity. We redesigned our website last year, but I feel that there's still a need for a cohesive approach at not only telling our story, but creating a completely new approach to branding the town. Some of those efforts could include a branding consultant, a podcast, in terms of that allows us to have a radio presence, and an expansion of the Engage Hope News platform. My third priority would be town hall expansion as we continue to see requests for additional staff. Any staff requests that you see coming from department heads within town hall, I think we currently have, I say 2 makeshift offices, but it's the only 2 spots we have left for additional staff. And so if we get 4 departments and 1 additional staff, we actually are at that point where we need to actually explore. We talked about it last year. I think we're going to start proceeding and give you guys some numbers. From the clerk side, I'll just go into, okay. I'll just present the clerk's piece to optimizing operations. The priorities are a legal review, which is Unicode, elections. This is an election year, so typically our Parks and Rec facility is utilized as a polling station. Increased travel and training budget, continued grant services, and administrative assistant and brand ambassador. So in terms of legal review, the advantages and benefits of a Unicode system can help local governments tremendously, from code hosting to code of ordinances online, being placed online in public archives, codification, which consolidates legislation. If you recall, we just did 2 massive updates to our zoning ordinance, as well as code enforcement. It does need to be codified. The election, again, in odd years, Town of Hope Mills Parks and Rec Center serves as a polling station. Increased travel and training budget. You're going to see a request to not only increase administrative staff's budget, but to also increase your training budget as well. I think us coming off of the NOC conference, where it did feel good to have more elected officials there, and so you'll see a slight increase or request to increase your budget as well. Grant services. The town currently sits at over $6 million in grant submissions through the NCLM Technical Assistance Program. It is still representing dividends from that 30,000. The first 30,000, you recall, we received at no charge. We additionally paid another 30, but we're actually depleting that. And so you'll see us request, not necessarily in next year's budget, you'll see us probably request additional 30,000 now to get us through to July, but we're sitting at about $6 million in grant submissions off of just the $30,000 investment that we made so far. You're also going to see us explore options, and I think we're here. I think we're at a position where we have a system in place where we may want to entertain hiring a full-time grants administrator on staff. And so for the staff or the salary you get for that, I think you'll, in the long-term perspective, you get more bang for your buck, because now you have an in-house grant writer administrator or staff. Additional staff, again, you're looking at the administrative assistance request. My deputy clerk actually remains in 3 roles. That administrative assistant could also serve as a dual role with the brand ambassador, which allows our town clerk to remain as a PIO and deputy town clerk. So with that said, the total request would be the legal review is 10,000, elections 15. We have to pay that anyway. Travel and training budget, we're asking for 25,000 for commissioners, 18,000 for admin. The grant services, which is the additional 35 we're asking for now. The grants administrative salary, we're estimating at about 75,000, and the brand ambassador admin position will be about 55,000 for a total of 233. And that would conclude the administrative priorities, and we'd like to open the floor to any discussion that you have.
As we go through the discussion of all the departments, the way that the rules will go is that the department head, just like Chancellor, will brief the entire department slides, and then the board will have the opportunity to ask questions after the complete brief of the department.
And I will say before Commissioner Scarlett comes in, what you'll see overall, some of the department presentations will pretty much roll right into just regular budget requests, but there's some that are so high that it does require some engagement of the board to make it a priority. And so some of the things you'll see in just general staff requests, it may not be something that rises to that level, but it may be something that we can handle at Drew's level. But we at least want you to know exactly what those priorities are.
Mr. Squirrel?
Thank you, Mayor. So my one question concern would be for the elections, because I know it's a pain in the butt, especially for when we're running for office, that we have so many different stations where citizens don't even know, like the fire department, the Cotton Fire Department is going out there where.
And, Lighthouse is a really itty bitty one. Lighthouse, the church, Cotton Fire Station, they even use John Griffin, I think is one, Cumberland Mills. They have these they're really tiny, but there's still places that our citizens can go vote if that's their precinct, but you get really small numbers, but they are places that people vote, so you really got people all over the place.
So is there a way, because their numbers are so small, I mean, they're, I think, what, less than 100? Less than 100. Can we get rid of those and just have them go to the rec center, the middle school? What's the other one?
See my comment.
Yeah, and see Wayne Collier.
I think, if I can speak for our clerk, the Board of Elections drives all of that. So the 15,000 is just us paying them to be able to use our facility. I think we can talk to them to explore and let them know about concerns we have about what sounds like saturated precincts. But that's something that they would ultimately have to do. I'm not sure how much authority we have, but that's something we can have.
Because I know they would take input, especially since it's a hassle, especially when you have to run to all those different locations.
And I think the time is now to have a
We
conversation.
can add.
Yes, please, can you please follow up with that?
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's all.
Yeah.
it may be something that we, as the elected, need to help drive to for the Board of Elections. And then the other question, I guess we can go along with that is, are they gonna put another, early voting site out here in Hope Mills? They did the last time, it was on the Clifffield Road and Board of Elections for all of these people out here in Hope Mills. So I would like to see if they're gonna bring another voting site, early voting site back here, at least at Parks and Rec, or even down in Graves Creek, but, and I think Spring Lake had that conversation with them, and they brought a site back down there for them, but I think with us being the second largest in the county, we should have a early voting site.
I'll talk to follow up, but that's definitely something that, we can engage in and let you know, what their response is.
Let me ask a question. If we were voting in the even years, would we have to pay the 15,000?
I think we're paying just because it's them utilizing our building. I think the conversation about even years is rooted in the fact that you get more turnout in even, general election years than you do in odd years, but I think you have to pay either way if they got facility.
So the only other question I have here is, we're paying the 15,000 anyway, we're still paying the grant services 35, right?
That's asking you for another 35
Yeah.
to get us through to July. And I want to make an announcement, but I can't. Julie, she's gonna throw something if I do. But we are still reaping benefits of this program. I do think we're getting to a threshold where continuing to pay additional 35s, you're gonna get to the point where you spend more than 70,000 annually. And if you have a permanent staff member, if you recall, we found out about this program because we were exploring trying to create grants to be. And so I do think that all the departments are engaged. I do think it would benefit us, but I think it's time to at least talk about getting us to July through this service and then bringing some of our staff that would permanently be dedicated specifically towards pursuing, monitoring and, administrative grant program.
What does the legal review look like for 10,000?
So the legal review, if you recall, at one of our recent Board of Commissioner meetings. Oh. Can you hear me? Okay. So the legal review consists of MuniCode, who is our repository for all of our code of ordinances, taking any of our recent text amendments and incorporating that into the code. So we have to pay them in order to do that, but they make sure that everything is cohesive because the code exists, but whenever we make text amendments, they have to incorporate that into our current code. So that takes about 6 to 8 months for them to do. And so the estimate includes that and the supplement for us to get the hard copy to also do the same thing with the hard books.
Ashley, when was the last time this was updated?
So the last time that the town has had a recodification was in 2019, and that is a full review of the code. MuniCode doesn't suggest doing that more or sooner than every 10 years. So we're not in a position right now to do that, but as far as I know, the town has not had a legal review since then or before then. They've done recodifications, but not a legal review.
So this one would be a comprehensive legal review.
It would just be from the time that the town has last given them text supplements to incorporate into the code, and that was October of 2022. So what I did was ask all of the departments to give me any amendments that they've had to the code from that point until present. And so that is what will be incorporated into the code throughout the legal review. So the recodification is the entire code. The legal review is only addressing things that have actually been updated in real time.
So the legal review is 10, so what's the price for the whole thing?
So I didn't inquire about that because MuniCode doesn't suggest doing that sooner than every 10 years, and we last had it in 2019.
Okay, I got it. All right. Okay, Commissioner Graber.
I'd like to go back under legislative, the 4-year staggered term. first of all, I'm sort of confused why that would even fall under administration, or why administration would even recommend that we go that direction when the board makes policy. Now, this has gone on every 2 years, that this has come up. We put it on the ballot 6 years ago, I guess is when it was. And it was voted down by almost 3,000 people. Then 2 years later, it came back up and the board voted it down. On March the 6th, I think, 2023, it was brought back up, and this board, with the exception of me, voted it down again. So I would think that if the board wanted to pursue that option, we would put it on the agenda, we would discuss it, and we would vote on it, whether to put it back on the ballot, or if we would vote on it for us to pass it. I really don't think any department should be recommending us to go to 4-year staggered terms.
I'll respond to that. That's actually my recommendation. And as we proceed forward and we continue to engage other municipalities, we continue to hear about how difficult it is to create a system of continuity when you have a situation where the entire board can be overhauled every 2 years. We are talking about doing a strategic plan. We're talking about growth and future development. A lot of times, even like I said with the bond referendum, you have to have a certain amount of stability there to be able to have success in moving these things forward. This is just me keeping it on the burner to make you realize that it is something that we should explore. The option is always going to remain with the elected. But as manager, I'm going to continue to push and suggest things that I feel that are important for the long range success of the town.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, moving on.
Next, you have human resource.
As we know, and I have an inkling we're going to continue to hear throughout the night, the town has seen unprecedented growth. As a result, the town has found it necessary to grow staff in order to maintain appropriate levels of service to our taxpayers. The most recent example of this was in the police department with the addition of a dozen or so TPOs and SROs. But who supports our staff? Human resources. From recruitment to retirement, human resources plays a significant role in the employee engagement, retention, and overall job satisfaction. According to SHRM, the Society for Human Resource Management, the sweet spot is 1.5 to 4.5 HR professionals per 100 employees, with 2022 average being 1.7. The town is currently at 206 employees. That includes full-time, part-time, seasonal, and auxiliary staff. Since April 1st, when I began working here, we've added 40 full-time and 20 part-time. For the town, with that measurement, we would equate to 3.2 to 3.5 HR team members. While we have a very capable team in place, we're not magicians, and most of our days are bogged down with paperwork that is often redundant and at times very time-consuming. A solution to this would be to invest in HR management software, in addition to adding an additional person to our team. This investment will not only allow my team to work more effectively, but it will also allow us to communicate with staff, decrease payroll processing times, and reduce errors. Additionally, this will also allow my team to focus on the town's priorities when it comes to mental health, professional development, staff appreciation, and engagement, all which will directly impact our retention rates. In conclusion, with the addition of one more full-time HR member and investment in a human resource information system, our processes will become more efficient, more accurate, and the HR department can better serve our staff and work on morale, satisfaction, in which turn benefits our community as a whole.
Okay. Board have any questions? None? I've got one, so you go ahead, yours and
Give me
I'll.
those things I want from my microphone.
When we look at, the information system, I remember some years ago that we transitioned to NeoGov. Are we still using NeoGov?
So currently NeoGov supports our recruitment efforts, so it's really only one piece of a larger, what an HRS system is, that only focuses on our recruitment efforts, job posting. My recommendations, which I'm getting quotes for now, will be to replace that, with a more broad system. So instead of using NeoGov and our employee navigator for benefits, it would be in one system, that would ideally and they integrate with finance to manage our payroll, and it would need to work with their accounting software as well.
And if you were to go to this other system, as far as the training fees, town employees could access the training fees from their offices on their own computers.
Correct. And the actual third thing that I didn't mention, but is the technology piece. I would like to have some training laptops available, because not all of our employees have work computers. That and for our onboarding, we'd be able to have them set up in a conference room where we could get all the paperwork done electronically. Because ideally, we wouldn't need paper. We would be able to process everything electronically and keep it in one database. So there's actually quite a few current systems that we're paying for that would be encompassed in this broader software.
Interesting. Okay. That would be more efficient and effective.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay. Commissioner Squirrel?
Thank you, Mayor. Do you have a price tag for the HRIS?
I'm waiting on some quotes. I have two right now.
Just like ballpark.
Well, they're very different. That's the crazy part. One's a recurring cost of $50,000 a year. It's about $25 per employee per month. So that's a higher estimate. I think I told them 200 is just kind of like a consistent number. Obviously, that number fluctuates through the year. And then the other one, which is actually to see what we would get with NeoGov, to see if we could continue using their software, and their quote came in at almost $100,000. So I'm waiting on the third one, which is Tyler Technologies, which is what we use for our finance. So I'm trying to see what the options are, and I have a call with them this week.
Okay. I agree with the laptops. And they're, I mean, we don't have to get top of the line gaming computers. We can get, that shouldn't be a very expensive piece, just to get a couple of laptops and maybe put them in the conference room or something. So I agree with that. That's all I have now.
Thank you, Commissioner Squirrel. I want to back up and touch on something that we really hit it out of the park last year. And I'm going to tell you what that is. And Commissioner Marley was behind it. It was the addition of our receptionists. How beneficial have those two dedicated ladies been, not only to the citizens who walk through that front door, but to the staff? And just think about adding those positions and how that's enhanced the operation of effectiveness and efficiency with everybody that works in the admin building. We've done a lot of great things over the year, but I'm gonna tell you, that is one that we have really hit it out of the park with. So I just wanted to comment there, that was really a great idea from Commissioner Marley, because you were behind that last year. And those two ladies are phenomenal. They care about the staff, they care about the citizens, and they're not there to make money. They really aren't. They're passionate about what they do. Anyway, that's enough on that one.
I do have one
Yeah.
comment. My only comment is, like I've always said, you can't continue to grow your town and not grow your staff. So I think some of these staff positions we've been putting off all of the years I've been on the board, some of them that I've seen in the past include yours. So I just believe you can't keep growing and not grow your staff.
We have learned that. Beth?
I don't know when the last time I talked to the microphone. Can you all hear me? Okay. So, Chancellor had recommended, going through some of the stuff that we had, completed in the previous cycle. And I know last year, we came to you guys not with any major requests, just that we were going to, hold on to some funding for emergency purpose, kind of build up the stormwater fund, which, we've been able to do. And I think we're gonna continue to, lean in that direction this year, but we were still able to get our cleaning completed that we requested last year. We've seen lots of improvements to the drainage during these heavy rain events, and it remains to prove, positive benefits to neighborhoods that we have traditionally seen localized flooding in. So that's obviously going to be a repeat request from my department this year. I would and always do remind you guys that our directives and the things that we are responsible for doing are basically required by the federal government and then pushed down through the state. So last year we requested to update the stormwater ordinance and also our master plan because it was a little over 10 years old, and they recommend that 10 years is extensive. So we were able to complete the stormwater ordinance update. We did a complete update to the stormwater ordinance with some help from consulting firm that basically that individual had worked for the state, retired, and so she was a very valuable resource to us. The master plan update is completed. We're still going through that, so it has not been published yet, but that was like a 600-page document that needed to be updated, and that comes with a lot of additional work. With the stormwater ordinance updates, we also did some internal, our enforcement policies and procedures were updated as well. We had a lot of different forms that we were using, and it seemed like they were excessive amounts of forms, so we have consolidated those and also consolidated some of the processes. One of the other things we requested was, to be allowed to focus on outfall maintenance, which we did. We have identified areas that needed to be maintained in some sort of way, then realized that we really didn't have the proper equipment to do that. So obviously we can go use a contractor, which we did, but found it to be costly. So you're going to hear that in my next portion of the spiel. In this upcoming fiscal cycle, we would like to focus on updating our GIS database. That is a requirement for our NPDES permit. That mapping is done by folks that are much smarter than me. They go out. We have the ability to allow them to use as-built that we get from local developments. That does not apply to, it does to the neighborhoods and things like that. I think we've come to the end of finding things that were not mapped from years ago, or little pocket areas that we don't have mapping. That map is basically our stormwater drainage infrastructure, so all the piping and all the inlets are mapped, and we update that. We were on kind of a 2-year rotation, but with the amount of growth that we've had in the last 2 years, we have a very long list of updates that are needed, and that cost has gone up so significantly that I screamed in the office. I'm sure everybody heard me. I was like, there's no way, that's not what we paid. But
I heard you too, but.
I'm sure you did. But we're going to have to kind of chip away at that. The master plan update, the stormwater ordinance update, those things are expensive to do the whole thing at one time. We just have been kind of asking around to find out how we could better collect as-built to be able to use those without having to send a field crew out to redo anything. That way it's more of a digital exchange, and I think we've gotten to the point that our standards and specs, along with the processes that we use for infrastructure inspection and acceptance, those things we're able to turn into somebody, and it's a digital exchange rather than having boots on the ground from somewhere else. So we're going to be focused on getting those updated because we are required to keep them updated. And 3 of the things that we're going to focus on this year, obviously, I'm still pitching that $100,000 that we're gonna budget for cleaning the drainage system, because we have talked about possibly getting a truck, and the cost of the truck, and then needing another employee, and, we just don't feel like the maintenance of that vehicle, it's just easiest for us to use a contract service to do that. With our outfall maintenance and identifying the areas, we have a list of things, and we did some contract work. It was extremely costly. So, this year in our budget, we are going to be asking to basically upgrade the Mini-X. It will be still a Mini-X, but it will have a ballistic cab on it, and we have gotten quotes for, getting a mulching head along with the bucket, so we would be able to go in, trim these easements, cut everything back, in-house rather than having to contract that out. It'll be dual use as far as picking up things. Tyler pointed out to me today that, the Mini-X we have is great, but some of the materials that we need to replace, the slabs that go on top of these things, they are too heavy for the equipment to pick up, so there's no way to safely do that. We have to call somebody else in to pick it up, or we've got to borrow a couple of work staff and use 2 pieces of equipment. So our thought was we sell one and then put that money towards the purchase of a newer one. That piece of equipment is about 8 years old, and it's in, I think, very good shape. We haven't overused it or abused it at all, so I think we can probably get back a good majority of our money. And then the last thing that is on my list every year is we have projects that we work with, mainly Public Works and Parks and Rec, because those are the areas that we can kind of fit stormwater into. Don and I are in discussions about a piece of equipment that they need, which I'm sure he's going to bring up during his part of the presentation. And I think last year we briefly discussed the parking lot over behind the park. I think Lamarco is in agreement that we want to go ahead and budget for at least the engineering of that in the next fiscal cycle. And I will remind you that we're not asking for anything above and beyond what is already in the stormwater budget. These are all items that can be covered in our annual budget. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, I was going to remark on that one comment that was on that slide. That one line where it says the equipment expands our abilities for in-house work across multiple departments with estimated purchase cost of $150,000. Is this a piece of equipment you're talking about?
Yes, that would be the mini excavator that we have gotten a few quotes, and it appears that that would cover it along with the mulching head, and then whatever we can get from the sale of the one that we currently have would be put towards, back in the fund towards the purchase of the newer one.
This would come out of stormwater budget,
Yes, sir.
but it would be able, but Don would be able to use it.
Absolutely. We try to purchase things that are usable across departments. I was just telling Lamarco that, you know, this is something, the backside of Heritage Park is a wooded area. Our maintenance staff goes out there with weed eaters and chainsaws and very labor-intensive equipment, and it takes days to get that cleaned up. This piece of equipment can be dropped off on a trailer and done in 2 to 3 hours. Everything is mulched up. If we choose to pick it up, then we can. If we choose to leave it on the ground, it's all natural. So.
Okay.
And if the fire department and police department decide they need to use it for something, they're welcome to it as well.
So now it's turned into a community piece of equipment.
Well, stormwater likes the teamwork effort, and we like to purchase things that a good majority of us can use, or at least 2 or 3 departments can all use, because it's not something that we would use every day, but if we're using it amongst the different departments, it comes in handy.
It would be available.
Yes,
And
sir.
that's the strike out.
Well, Don doesn't know it yet, but when we replace it, it's still going back in one of his buildings, so. We don't have a stormwater building to put it in. I don't think it'll fit in the back of town hall.
Well, that would be the price of using the equipment, wouldn't it?
Yes, sir.
One
Everything
hand,
comes-
what's the saying?
Everything comes with price.
One hand washes the other.
That's right.
Commissioner Swell.
Now, did you say it has a ballistic cab?
So I am told, when we were doing the research, that I said, why can't we just buy a mulching head for the mini excavator? And then I got laughed at. Oh, you have to have a ballistic cab on it. And I said, well, who's shooting at you?
Have
But
been the Hope Mills.
yeah, I hear you. But so it is a requirement, I think, by OSHA for there to be a ballistic cab because that head it's shooting stuff and it's just like safety gear for weed eating, but this is at a much higher rate that things could be thrown. So,
Gotcha. I was concerned, I'm like, if citizens taking pot shots, like, you haven't cleaned my drains yet, you're gonna pay. So, okay.
I'm waiting on it. It hasn't happened yet, but this way we'll be covered.
Okay, very good, very good. That's all I have there.
Any other comments from the board? Okay,
Thank you.
well. Emily?
I have a basic list of a little bit of what we've accomplished in the last year to start out to. I cannot remember off the top of my head, but I believe we've done over 300 square acres, 327 acres of annexations in the last handful of years to talk about growth for the town. We did, as you know, change up the code enforcement codes. That's also going to go in the meeting code, as Ashley mentioned. That'll be part of the codification process. One of my code enforcement officers just got her level 1 building certification last week. So congratulations to her. So we do not have a town planner anymore, but while he was here, he did a lot of improvements for the department, including streamlining code enforcement in their processes of doing inspections, while we try to work on getting software to better organize their inspections. He created infographics that I will be putting on the website in the near future, explaining different processes. We actually have them in the back of the commissioner's room at this time, where people can actually pick one up physically to take with them. We also reactivated, probably the wrong word, but the historic overlay district ordinance, and I'll be adding up to our website for that as well as benefit information purposes. And I'm also in the process of finishing out updating the zoning and subdivision ordinance. So part of my priorities list talks about adding an additional zoning / code enforcement officer to the roster. As the planning department is preparing to conclude the comprehensive amendments to zoning and subdivision ordinances, there's a need for code enforcement officers dedicated specifically to commercial development and enforcing the zoning ordinance. With the changes to the code enforcement code as well as the zoning ordinances, it's going to give our code enforcement officers more power to enforce the zoning ordinances while they're out doing their regular inspections and patrolling. Along with adding a zoning / code enforcement officer, we would need a new vehicle. And of course, training is always a need. We're always looking to better ourselves. Software, as I mentioned earlier, we are looking to try to get software for our code enforcement officers so they can better record their inspections and keep a better record down the line for inspections done. It would be attaching pictures from said inspections. So we keep a record of letters sent invoices that would need to be generated for properties cleaned up. And then for the zoning and planning, we're looking to hopefully have a fully staffed planning department and possibly add an additional planner. As mentioned, we have over 300 acres of additional annexations. Not to mention, we have more coming in the future for requested annexations. Over the next year, my priorities also include finishing out the updating the zoning and subdivision ordinance and adding the new HOD, Historic Overlay District, information to the website. I'm in the process of overhauling my sections of the website, which is a process in itself. We also look forward to working with Cumberland County to update the land use ordinance. I believe they gave us an estimate. It should be updated. Chancellor, did they say by the end of this year or the end of next year?
This actually speaks to the beauty of the economic development. We were talking about, our level meeting today. The county basically told us it would be the end of next year before they could get to our section. Being proactive, they told us to hire a consultant. That's been left dollars. I think it's a more proactive approach that we're going to assign that to our economic development committee that consists of everybody that would be considered a stakeholder in the area from every agency around. And we're going to actually conduct that ourselves in-house. And I do think it saves a ton of money. Cumberland County Joint Planning Board Representative and Long Range Planning Department are part of that committee as well. So I think that's the better approach. And I think we get faster than, because they're not going to get to it until the end of next year. You're probably looking at the end of the following year before it's completed. So I think that's something we can do much faster, and we can do it from the job seat, from its internally from within Hogan.
That's pretty much it. If you have any questions.
Emily, are we actively advertising for the vacant planning position now?
Yes, it closes at the end of this month.
Okay. So you were asking for an additional zoning and code enforcement officer, a new vehicle, and another planner
Yes.
to work with the vacant one. So that's two planning
Yes.
positions.
Yes.
Okay. What's the estimated software cost?
I'm not sure at this time. I have several quotes that I'm waiting to get, and I'm hoping to have them ready. I actually have a demonstration scheduled for tomorrow morning, and supposedly they should have a quote to me in the next few days, so I can get a pile together, so hopefully in the next 2 weeks.
What software are they currently using?
None.
None.
Excel and Word.
All right.
Yeah. Everything's basically done by hand right now.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll probably have a question for everyone. For this code enforcement officer for commercial developments, now will that assist in getting us these areas like Walgreens area, that filthy intersection? Code enforcement will be able to find them for that kind of stuff?
So the idea, hope, I guess it's better word, is for them to focus on commercial properties, everything from making sure their landscaping is correct. You know, you have some that, like there's some dying trees, they need to be replaced. Well, the idea is to give them the power to go after that part, as well as making sure that they are clean, like they're supposed to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that's something that we could sort of support behind, just saying. That's all I have. Thank you.
I'd like to see something done with that hill at Walgreens. We need to make that not only a goal, but it needs to be a mission to do something with that hill. It is the ugliest hill that I've ever seen, and it's part of our gateway. Everything else in the town looks really great, but when you come up to that hill and you see the trash, the growth, all of it down the side of that hill, it sends a wrong impression. Just clearly does. Anything else?
Ask a question.
Sir, go ahead.
Are they maintaining that growth on that bank, or are we doing
It's probably on the DOT right away, but this position allows us to actually be more aggressive and actually pursuing, them to the property.
it? Do they pay us back for that?
No, that's also tied to the accurate program that we got where, if we send out notice of violation, if they don't respond, they don't comply, we have to bid it out. So that we ourselves, we can keep the money through collection.
How long does that take?
I don't know if it actually, we quantified how long. The key and the win was that prior to that, the only thing we could do is put a lien on the property. Now, with this, program we have, we can be actually a little bit more aggressive because it's through, actual collections. I think, we just approved the MOU at the last meeting for our finance department to have the authorization to do that. And so that's what we just recently moved forward with. It gives us a little bit more teeth in code enforcement. The commercial position is now you have a one staff member specifically dedicated to just commercial. So those are the properties that we do that on.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Any other comments? All right, moving on to the other side of the table. It's all you, Kenny.
All right, thank you, sir. So far as the inspection department goes, my list is short to the point. I have a staff of 6, including myself. I have 2 permit techs and 3 inspectors and me, the chief inspector. We are very, with the policy and procedures I have in place, we're very proactive and efficient in what we do. My biggest, I guess my biggest feat in my department is I want the highest and best use of my people. And that means their time and their abilities and their skill sets. So with that being said, we're not asking for a lot. This year, I would like to get a new vehicle. We have a 2000 F-150 that Ray drives, and it's seen better days. It's been passed down 2 or 3 times from stormwater to us, and it's been around the block. And it costs about $70 to $80 a week to put gas in that thing. And my other 3 vehicles combined, I've got away from pickup trucks and got more to like the Ford Escapes and the Nissan Pathfinder, more than mini SUVs with all-wheel drive that we get off on job sites. I can do all 3 of those vehicles for $70 a week, whereas I got one took me 70 or 80. And so, and it's like driving a horse and buggy. So I really need to get that one replaced with more of an efficient vehicle. And I'm not asking for any new staff this year. Like I say, that's probably come up in the following budget this year. I think I'm good. Like I said, with the procedures and places and the procedures and policies we have in place in the department, we're getting the highest and best use of the staff. There's a couple of line item increases that I really need. Our department supplies needs to go for $4,000 to $6,000 because as we're doing more permitting, we're using more ink, more paper, just more all that stuff. So we got to increase that. I'm averaging about 2 or 3 ink cartridges a month, and at $90, $100 a pop. Because what people realize is when somebody emails us, say, for example, a solar panel, to put solar panels in houses, right? And they email that permit package to you, it's about 45 sheets. We've got to print out just that one permit. It gives us all the specs and it gives us everything. So if you do 10 of those a day, you're going through it, So, and the other one's the training. I like to go from 13.5 to 14,000. That's only a $5 increase. The reason why 13.5 this year because I got to buy new code books called the new code change, which I hopefully North Carolina adopted the 2024 bill because they're effective July 1 of this year. And so the code books are not in print yet. They're telling us they're going to probably be in print in February or March. So that way I can get those new code books. I like to keep that money in the budget for training because as the inspectors, we've got 2 junior inspectors. I got one that's got all his level 1s. I got another one that has all probationary ones. but they have to keep renewing and getting to higher levels so they can go forward and further their career development, professional development, and for the town too, because, the more levels they have, the more certifications they have, the more they can expect. They're not just pigeonholing to one thing. But, I like to keep that training at that point, because this training is getting more and more expensive, every year, it seems like. It can send a person to a class, say a level 1 or level 2 class, it's 52 weeks, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at community college. You got to pay for registration, hotel, to get the food for dinner. I actually let them drive the town vehicle, so we save on mileage, it pops anywhere from $12 to $13 per class. So, and you send somebody to 5 or 6, 7 classes, your whole team, they had to quit. And that's not counting our Con Ed that we're mandated to do every year. So I literally need to keep that at that. And I'd like to increase the maintenance repair line vehicle from 2,000 to 3,500. The 3 vehicles we have a 2024 Escape, a 2020 Nissan Pathfinder, and a 2022 Jeep Cherokee. They're not under warranty anymore. So when they need new tires, I just put 2 new sets of tires on the Jeep and on the Cherokee, on the Pathfinder and the Ford Escape. I just put 2 new sets of tires so I can pass inspection. So it eats it up quick, so they're in good shape. The inspectors take good care of them, we wash them, we keep them clean. That's like I tell them, we might be inspectors, but we don't have to look like garbage men, no disrespect, but we got to keep our vehicles looking sharp. And I just want to tell you a quick snapshot of where we're at right now for the fiscal year. From July 1, as of yesterday, fiscal year totals, we've issued 838 permits. We've collected almost $260,000 in fees, and that's with an added value of $20,500,000 to the town. So when I say we collected $260,000 in fees, that's an added value of the estimated of what it's going to be looking at. It's like putting a $20 million value on top of a building or a community. And inspections we have completed right now, we've completed 1,689 inspections, and that's given us 1,302 trips. So to complete 1,689 inspections, we had made 1,302 trips to do that. So that's kind of where we're at on the snapshot now. I feel like we're going to meet and exceed our budget again this year for permit fees. I feel like we're on track to doing another $500,000-$600,000 in fees. And it's increased every year. So like I said, I'm not asking for much. That's my wish list. The biggest thing is we get the line items and replace that 1 truck, and so we can be more efficient and save some gas money and what have you down the road.
Thanks, Kenny.
Yes, sir.
My question here would be either to you or Drew, or both. Where are you right now regarding revenue coming in? Are you over budget?
It's my understanding, Drew told me that I'm making money. The department's making money.
The reason I say this is because if you are making money, then we probably should go ahead and replace this truck in this year's budget.
Actually, last year he went way over.
Yeah.
Because of the department.
Yep.
And we used some of that money last year. This year, since we increased the revenues to cover that, he's right on target for where he's at.
So which is it? Is he on target or is he over?
He's on target for what we budgeted. I mean, it's less than where we were last year at this same time because we don't have that major apartment complex like we did last. That was a huge chunk of change all at once. But he's on track to meet budget.
The reason I say this is because we helped out Lamarco the same way.
Right.
And I would like to see the same process go to Kenny if we could do that.
Yeah, but there probably won't be a problem to get next year's budget. But I don't see him being exorbitant over his budget this year like he was last year.
Not for a
Not
new
yet,
truck?
unless you got something big.
Well,
Not for a new vehicle?
well, I talked to Chancellor, but I let Chancellor know a month or 2 ago to come off, we talked about it. Just to need to, not to draw it out, building permit fees are, and installation them and demo fees are are based on value, building value. That's how we determine our fee on that particular. So we were basing, so let's say a contractor turned in a building permit application. They say, oh, it's gonna cost us $220,000 to build it. That's what, because we have the values for improvement. Well, what we have been using, and it was based on 2015 ICC, International Code Council, table chart, we were using $94 per square foot for heated, and this is on residential, for heated and 35 for unheated. So based on their square footage, they were saying it may cost $220 on their application, so I figured it up, if it costs $235, well, we based the permit fee off $235, because we're using the 2015 ICC chart. Because, let's be honest, folks are not gonna pay you the full value of what they're doing, you know what I'm saying? So, now with that being said, with the code change, we have gone to 2021 ICC, and it raised it up substantially. I mean, they were talking $165 a square foot heated. I didn't want to do that because we're not raising our permit fees, but if you raise the valuation of it, it's going to raise the fee. So what I did is I went back, I said, okay, we need to be fair in our market. So I went to $125 a square foot heated, and I kept it at 35 unheated. So now, when somebody submits for a building permit, yes, their fees are gonna be a little bit higher because the valuation is gonna be higher. And we're on point now where we need to be at. Because when houses, the average price in Hope Mills of a house, a new house is $300,000+. You know, we got to be on par with our fees also, with our valuation. So to answer that question, we will have a little more money coming in because of the valuation fees have changed, because we had to get up to date with them. But we haven't raised our fees. It's just the valuation that based the fee on. So we'll have a little more money coming in. That's why I feel comfortable this year will exceed our budget that we're trying to do. Because I mean, we've got what, Chancellor, Emily, we've got what, 1,500, 2,000 houses coming?
And that's kind of where I'm going through, is that, you know, if there's any way
If
possible.
it's going over, then yeah, there'll be extra funds there, because his permit fees have to stay with his department.
Right.
Yeah.
But that would be enough for him to buy a replacement truck in this.
Yeah, if it's there, we can do the same thing like we did
Like
with the
we did with
market.
the market.
Like as far as speaking, Kenny, I would say definitely between now and July, you can start having quite a few of those houses starting to go vertical in terms of permits.
Yeah. All right, anything else from the board? Commissioner Marsh?
Just to comment on a couple of things that caught my eye. I know previous board meeting, we talked about, we discussed training budgets for all the departments. I don't really think a $500 increase is very much. I myself would think it would be more than that, and a whole lot more than that, because like you said, one weekend class for one person is going to get $500 up. So you're not even asking for an increase. So I'm a proponent for it. I think we need to look at the training and travel line items for all departments. I know we have here, and I know that Chancellor mentioned one for the board as well. I think that's important. And the other thing is, this is just for Chancellor and the department head to discuss, but I think we need to look at this permit fee. If the state says we can charge it to a certain dollar amount, I mean, that's what the state says. I don't, we need to be looking at that, and we don't need to be cheating ourselves. And I know what you said you did, and I understand why you did it. But yeah, I think we need to look at those permit fees.
With that, Commissioner Marley, I was going to say, we raised the fees and permit inspections 2 years previous in a row, and I was trying to say, and we're in comparison to municipalities our size. We're in comparison to Clayton, Hugh Arena, Garner, those type of places. So we're in the mark, so to speak. We're there at it. I like to see how we do this year with the valuation increase, by how much it increases, and then maybe next year's budget, not just for next year's budget, and figure out where I need to be at that point in time. Because I like to figure out what the difference is and kind of work that. I know what you're saying, we don't want to sell ourselves short, but, as of right now, we're on par with everybody else our size, so to speak, and I want to try to stay competitive with that. But I know, I'm ready to sell ourselves short.
Okay, anybody else? Okay. All right, it's, smoke eaters. Go at it, chief.
Thank you, Mayor. Our list of priorities, we've got grants, substations, equipment, training and staffing. We've been pretty diligent, the deputy chief's been working with Ingrid, and we have put in a lot of stuff for grants to try to eat some of the cost of the stuff we're asking for. Everything that we put in for the grants is on the higher priority list. That way you should stand a bigger chance of actually getting the grant itself. Some of the bigger ticket items we've got on here are low on those lists. That's why we're looking at doing them in the budget. On the grants, we have one with the Cannon Foundation. It was submitted 11/25/24. The award announcement should be in March of this year. We requested $23,680 for purchase of a new vehicle that will replace the assistant fire marshal's vehicle. And the total price of that vehicle was $43,680, and the town's responsibility if we receive the grant would be $20,000. We got the assistant to firefighters grant submitted to December 24. We anticipate the funding selection date no later than April of 25. Requested $32,239.85 for a micro grant for equipment. That's 7 AEDs and 3 sets of mannequins for training. These AEDs will allow us to put an AED on every vehicle we have in our department. And the mannequins we can use for training during our Con Ed, as well as training other town staff and departments and citizens in the community. We've also submitted to the Gary Sinise Foundation. They submitted it on 12/30/24. Requested $95,708.80. That is a joint application with the police department. Part of that will be 30 body armor vests for their department, and then the water rescue boats for us. It's a double stacked set, totaling $69,870.
Chief, back to, before we move here, back to that, second grant, what's that 5% match?
Dollar wise?
Yeah. Is that 5% of the 32? 5% of the 32?
Yes.
Okay.
That'd be $1,600 roughly.
Yeah. Okay.
Free money.
AEDs for heart attacks. Little sticky pads on.
Oh, okay.
You talking about the AEDs?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah, they
defibrillators, yeah.
Okay, Chief, not to interrupt you, just wanted to, just a couple points there. before we
Yes, sir.
move on.
The next thing we have, we were asking is substations. And, I got a study that was done back in March 1st of 2000 by the fire chief that was here then. If y'all don't mind, I'm gonna pass those out so everybody can have a look at it. this was 25 years ago. She's been across areas where they need a substation based on where the town would be growing the most. She was looking at 5 areas back then. And he pretty much hit the nail on the head if you look at the areas. So, his first area was up toward, George Owen Road, Hope Mills Road area. That was his first choice 25 years ago. Our first choice now would be around the Legion Road, Pinewood Drive area. One, the town already owns some land there. This would be what we think a good place for a substation. It's right down the street from the 2 biggest schools we have in our district, probably the biggest church we have in our district, a nursing home, Sweetwater subdivision, and the one's apartment complexes going in. So that will be a really good area for us to expand. The third substation will be around the Waldo's Beach, Camden Road area. These are not permanent, like location. This is just a ballpark location. This would give a 5-minute response anywhere in the town's fire district at these locations we have listed on here. And we'll get to a map portion here in a minute where you can kind of see that. The fourth station will be around Morocco Drive and Chickenfoot Road area. The fifth location will be Cumberland Road, and Highway 162. And then the sixth location will be around Blacks Bridge area, somewhere close to the 295 corridor. Yes, sir.
Can we knock out the substation on Morocco Road? Because we already know that that's not suitable for fire trucks, has no water.
We're not talking about that piece of property at all.
I'm not talking about that piece of property either. The existing way affected by that piece of property's ability to handle a fire station.
I'm not sure I understand what you're asking.
We just talked about fire station for Morocco Road, not Morocco, what's the name of that road that
You talking about Lady Lane or Ladybug Lane?
is this going to be affected as much as the Lady Lane would?
No, this has nothing to do with that at all. These are just strategic locations where a substation for the fire department would benefit the town. And this is not something we're saying we've got to have right this second. This is part of a long-term plan. If you look in those reports, and I also have a news article from 20 years ago where they discussed it in it for a 15-year plan. So where they were talking about approving one station right away and then a second within 2 or 3 years. And hopefully to have all 5 of those by the year 2015.
All right, thank you very much.
Yes, sir. The one that we would be asking for right away would be around the Legion Road area. That would be the most beneficial, I think, at this time.
Where is that?
Around Legion Road, Elk Road area.
Jerry, we already own that property. Well, except for privately owned 2 pieces.
Well, the Legion Road is that one.
Yeah. Well, the town owns 7
Oh,
acres.
that's got the other 2 pieces, yeah.
I was under the impression that nothing could be built. I was under the impression that nothing could be built there because of
The power line right
groundwater
away, you have to
and,
be so many feet
you look at the blow up that's in the packet, that I have on the screen, we're talking about the front portion of the area we own that would be outside of that area you're talking about, and two privately owned pieces at each intersection.
And that would be enough, large enough?
It's just this piece right
Yes,
there.
ma'am.
It's just that piece right there. No, that's the power line.
Yeah.
Just do that piece. Chief, before we go, how many bays would we look at putting here?
Probably 2 drive-through bays.
2 to 3 bays, okay. I was looking at that too, it's like, well,
Yes.
would 3 go on there?
I would, if we're looking at putting 2 drive-through bays, that's essentially enough room for 4 pieces of equipment if they're double stacked.
Okay. And how many crews would go there?
We're, right off the bat, we're essentially putting engine crew over there to start with potential of maybe putting a squad crew there as well, something simply as running medical call.
Okay. Anything else on the substations before we move on to equipment? Okay.
Is there a slide of the map on there? Yeah. So, just right quick. If you're looking at the map, and it's a whole lot easier if you go to the link on, GIS and do it. But with each one of these stations, the shaded area match which station they're with. But if you notice, they overlap into each different zone here, so that gives you that coverage. The response times they base off of is a 35 mile per hour constant speed, like from this station to say Southview Senior High. That does not take into effect traffic lights, vehicle traffic, or anything else. So if we put these stations here, that would drastically reduce response times for our equipment getting to the scenes in some of these outlying areas. There's been, and I've heard the questions that's being asked, like with the PD, how have they already outgrown this building? And some of you may have that question about how the fire department outgrown this building. We haven't. The town outgrew this building. That's where we're at. It's not that the fire department is too big for this building. It's that the town is too big for this one fire department.
So all of these acres we've been annexing in, right, Emily?
Yep.
And then some.
But in the little handout I gave you there too, it also explains the 35 mile per hour speed limit, the times you're supposed to be on scene, as far as your first in engine and your ladder companies and all that stuff too. So, if you have any questions about that. Some of the equipment we're asking for, we want to replace our current breathing air compressor system. This is the system we use to fill up all the air bottles and stuff on our air packs. When we get done fighting fires, come back to the station, have to refill bottles. And, it's not like a regular air compressor, this is actual breathing air. So the one we're looking at, we got a quote from Safe Air Systems. It's a Bauer Legacy 6,000 PSI compressor. Has a 2-position containment fuel station and a 4-bank control panel. It also comes with 4 brand new 6,000 PSI storage bottles so that you can keep them full. If something happened to the compressor, you still have 4 bottles you can fill off of. The price for that system is $52,773.92. We looked at throwing a grant for this. This is one of the things that was low on the priority list for whatever reason. That's why we've got it. It's not in a grant. Our current system, the compressor is a 1998. I think it's an old military compressor. And it also has a 2-tank system on it, fuel station, and it's a 4,500 PSI system. Most everything these days, everything, the new stuff is basically 6,000 PSI now. And we need a 6,000 PSI system to fill the big aerial bottles on our new ladder truck as well. Some of the other equipment we want to replace is our current washer and dryer that is in the decon room. I looked on it, and I can't remember. You remember what year that washer was? The 1996 washing machine. The white dryer you see there in the picture on the slide is a residential dryer that came from one of our firefighters. It's not even a commercial grade dryer. We would like to replace those with that stacked washer and dryer.
Did they not put any of this equipment in there when they built the building?
I can't really answer that because I wasn't really privy to a whole lot of that information back then. Drew may be able to tell you.
Some of the equipment was brought from the old fire station to the new fire station. Because we were under the impression of previous management, save as much as possible and try not to spend so we could go under budget. I was recommending let's get new stuff while we had this money.
Yeah, we had the money.
I know. But there were certain things that came out of the old station that went into the new station that the previous management was fine with and thinking we were saving money. Like I told you all several times, I said, this is the cheapest money we're ever gonna see.
Yeah.
At that rate, interest rate.
Yeah.
And so, but now it's gone. But that's what we're having to do now.
And I will say, by the way, on his behalf, that washing machine, that is a code violation. Because it's not built for commercial use, it's a domestic washing machine, it's not even supposed to be in that building.
I bet it's a Maytag.
Well, I'm not, my fault, not the washer, the dryer, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say the dryer, yeah.
Exactly.
What's the cost here, Chief? I did, DC did put one on there, so.
I thought we had one on here.
What's this double stack is about $16,000. The dryer that you see over here, the red cavity, is $7,000.
Yeah.
So the combo package is how much? 16,000, okay.
Now, what the combo dryer does, the gear washers on the bottom, it washes about 3 sets a year at a time. The top dryer is gonna be predominantly for like towels and things for washing the trucks. And the cabinet dryer will actually be for the gear itself. Our policy now for every fire we go to, they have to come back and wash their turnout gear and go to their spare set, so we reduce the carcinogens that they're exposed to.
It's a new like cancer initiative and stuff, about everybody's doing it. And also that red cabinet dryer, it'll do 4 sets of gear. But if you look in the bottom there, the little yellow, you see a fire hose. You can also use it to dry the fire hose. So it's not hanging on a rack out back out here in the sun, degrading the material on that as well.
I'm just shocked in all the years of budgeting, nobody ever brought this to our attention, and I understand the cost savings, and I know I was on the phone at the last meeting, but I think I would have been okay. Nobody told us that the building the town had outgrew the building, the people had outgrew the building. Nobody said that to us, so that was very new to me. The other thing is, I'm all about saving some money, but if somebody would have brought these pictures to us, we would not have told them, no, let's keep it under budget. So sometimes things just need to be brought to us instead of people assuming that they think they know what we want.
That's why we're bringing them out. Like I say, it's kind of a big list, but.
That's why we're doing what we're doing.
Yes.
That's why we started this last year, and now we're in year 2. Continue on, Chief.
Okay, the next thing is when we get into, the vehicles. So previously, we had a vehicle replacement plan. And I think the last manager did away with that.
Yeah. Marlon, I don't know if you remember, we started this plan not long after I got here, and it was approved by the county.
It was.
So
Two
if,
boards together.
Yeah, I'm on that board.
so if you look at that, in the graph down there, it started the fall of 16. We received 2 trucks in 17. And the town did the first payment in 18. So we were supposed to have replaced 2 more trucks. And did the order in 23. Hopefully received them in 24, and the first payment would have been this year. We have not replaced any trucks since 2017. That's the last time any of our big trucks were replaced. So, and 2132 there, where it's talking about fall of 23, 2132 was a 2004 Pierce that is no longer here. So we don't have anything to replace it with currently. 2151 is a 1996 Pierce ladder truck. It is 29 years old. And it's sitting out there to pay now. That is our, I guess you'd say, our second out ladder truck. We're currently trying to get quotes and stuff and drawings. We have some already. We don't have a definitive price on that, but if we were to order right now, you're looking anywhere at 2 to 3 years delivery time before we get them. That's the demand on them. So, and you can see the price out there to the side. There's talking about $55,000 for the engine and $1 million for the ladder. You go ahead and double that.
Not taking more. Well, this chart was made in 2016.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The average cost for an engine in a ladder truck right now, the engine's running at about 1 to 1.5 million, and the ladder trucks are anywhere from 2 to 2.5.
That's on our big trucks. We would also like to replace the deputy chief's vehicle. It is, it's a 2011 Ford F-150. And we would like to replace it with a 2500 pickup. That way we have something large enough to pull the trailers we have out there or the boats. Preferably 4-wheel drive just for inclement weather. And they range anywhere from $60,000 to $70,000. That's state contract price. The other pictures, those are just pictures of the fleet that we actually have. There you see the 96 ladder truck, the 2011 trucks. The most recent one we had was the fire marshal vehicle, which is a 2024 we just replaced. Next we have our training. We do want to up our training budget. On here you have a list of what's required per DOI and ISO. As far as those are hours of training. 192 for firefighter, 12 driver operator, 6 for hazardous materials, so on and so forth. We train every day to keep our skills up and try to be the best we can for the citizens that we provide service to. They're asking for $4,800 for an online training program through fire engineering. That's an annual recurring cost. This software is updated regular basis to keep everything up to date as far as the training materials and all that's on it. You can go on there online and train on anything you want to train on. That will be available to all of our staff.
Chief, excuse me, do we have anything in, that we're using now?
As far as online training?
Yeah, online training.
Well, we did just purchase a software. What was it? It's an image combustible. You go out and take photos of houses in the neighborhood or school, and you can actually place fire in them anywhere you want to on there. And the people can come in and you can practice commanding the fire ground and everything else on there. You can do training with it. We also use it for promotional processes.
So that's a separate package then?
That is separate, yes, sir. We already have it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, fire combustion is actually, I think, the name of it. So right now, our training materials budget is $1,500. And we would like to raise it to $10,000. That would include that $4,800 there, and allow us money to upgrade some of our books.
Did you say $1,500?
Yes, ma'am.
$1,500 in the budget for training for the whole year?
Yeah.
For materials.
For materials, training materials.
Okay, all right, yeah.
But our training library is very outdated. We have bought a few new books this year, but there's so much more out there that we need to get. And,
10,000 to do it?
yes, sir.
Okay.
Our training and travel budget was $7,000, and we'd like to increase it to $15,000. We, for the first time, I think, myself and the deputy chief went to the North Carolina Fire Safety Summit this year. Got some pretty good training up there. That's the first time that I've been to any kind of like a seminar or something like that. But we'd like to start sending some of our people to the FDIC, which is the Fire Department International Convention in Indianapolis. It's annual. The National Fire Academy in Emmitsburg, they do classes all the time. Week after next, the deputy chief and I will be headed to the Midwinter Chief Conference. And to my knowledge, that's the first time anybody from our department has been there since I've been here. And there's a host of classes going on up there. Just for an example of what we'll be doing, the deputy chief will be in an accreditation class, the first class that Wednesday. I'll be taking one for managing fire operations. That afternoon, both of us will be in strategic planning, fact or fiction. That Thursday, there's 2 classes, one on selection and assessment for fire services, hiring and promoting the best. The second class is risk reduction. And then that Friday, we end the week with prevention and screening, know your health in 2025. So, we're trying to educate ourselves, and we want our people educated too, the best we can. I think the more education you have, the better job you're gonna do.
Chief, do we take advantage of any of the classes that are taught by FTCC?
Yes, sir, we go to those regularly as well.
But none of these are offered at FTCC.
No, most of these you find at conferences, like seminars and stuff like that. Most of your FTCC stuff we do is kind of like a continuing education, or unless you go there, like to get the water rescue certification, or specific, certification, like fire certification, rescue certification, things along that line. That money would also go to send our fire marshals, people in our fire marshal's office to fire life safety educator classes and different training for them as well, like the image both different classes for inspections and all that stuff as well. And then our final thing we're asking for is additional staffing. Right now, all we're asking for, we'd like to put on the level 1 fire inspector position to add to the fire marshal's department. Town currently has around 535 inspectable locations, including foster homes, apartment complexes, commercial businesses, and they're mostly on an annual inspection cycle. As of August of 2023, fire-related permit and inspection fees being collected within the Hopeville Fire Marshal's office, along with our admin assistant. And I did a breakdown of what we took in. Fire Marshal Carter actually pulled the numbers for me. August 1st of 2023 through December 31st of 2023, we took in approximately $21,363. This past year, from January 1st of 24 to December 31st, we took in approximately $31,931 for a total of $53,294. Kind of like Kenny said a while ago, that number is just going to increase. The more property we annex, the more houses, the more businesses it's built. That's going to go up every year. We're asking to add one more level 1 inspector to assist them with their job. We're recommending them at a pay grade 21, which is around $53,363. I think that's all we can come up with.
That's pretty comprehensive, Chief. I'll go back and ask the same question. It looks like you've already paid for this grade 21.
Well, that's over a 1.5 year period, so.
Yeah, part of that last budget year.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we budgeted 25,000 for the current year, and we're at 31. So there's roughly over 6,000 in that budget.
Mayor, I'd just like to piggyback on Chief. Those, fire inspections he's talking about, I used to be a fire inspector for the county. Those are state mandated fire inspections they have to do. They don't have a choice. They have to get called maintenance inspections. So after business opens, I do a CO, and it's the fire marshal and fire inspector's job to go in and make sure they're maintaining the egress, and safety. So they have to do it. That's why they're in the schedule, depending on the business. It could be an annual, it could be a biannual, a 2-year or a 3-year inspection, but they're state mandated, they have to be done.
Thanks, Kenny. I see this position as mission critical to the operations. I do. All right, any other, comments, questions? Mr. Marley?
Just, like I said, just a quick comment, just something for the board to think about. The same with the training, I think the training budget's light, but, when we talk about, and I'm gonna be the hated one here, when we talk about building stations, talk about building fire departments and stuff, it's more than just building this. I mean, you gotta look, if you want an engine in a squad, that's a minimum of 5 people per shift. So you got 3 captain salaries, you gotta pay 3 lieutenant salaries, 9 firefighter salaries, 15 people, 15 personnel you got to hire for each one of those stations that you gotta pick up, salary and benefits. $3 to $5 million for a station, that's on the low end. That's a no thrills fire department. Just 3 to 5 million on the low end. Then you got to have, you got to buy an engine. If they want an engine in the squad, yes, we got other engines out here, but they need to be replaced. And when you talk about building a substation, you need to put an engine in there. You don't need to take from what you got. You need to buy engine squad to go out there. That was mentioned. So you're looking at probably another, almost $2 million in engine and squad, plus the equipment to equip those. So we want to build, and I'm all for, substations when it's time. I still maintain myself that I don't feel like it's really time for a substation. It's time for a substation when the cost of contracting meets the cost of building. For our contracting costs between everybody that we contract with, we have full response contracts with, we can't even hire half the personnel to staff that station for what it's costing us to contract right now. So I think we would be better to, and I'm all for building stations in the future, but I just don't think that the town right now is to that point when there's other things that the fire department needs to replace what we got now out there, replacing engines and vehicles that we got now. And I'll speak to the whole, I know Matt didn't speak to it a whole lot, I know Kenny did, and I know, the finance director did. The prior administration, the board I was on, we sit there in them board meetings and we asked, the police chief said, oh yeah, we need this, we need new furniture, we need that, we need this and that, the third, they got it. The prior administration, the fire department, oh, we're good, we can make do, we're good, now look where we're at. So, that's just my 2 cents. That's just a conversation for, the fire chief and the manager to have during budget time. Like I said, I'll be the hated one, but I think we're talking about a lot of money here when you start talking about building not only one fire department, but 4 or 5 eventually down the road. That's an added expense, but that's millions and millions of dollars. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
All right. Anything else? That's it?
If I may, right quick, man.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Mr. Lee.
I would like to take this time to thank all of you for bringing this to staff and the board's attention of what your needs are. I had a chance to work with you guys last night. They sent an ambulance out to my house to pick me up, to take me to no-go land, but here I am. So, proud of each and every one of you. You do a great job. Chief Dollinger, good job. Fire Chief, good job. Kenny, good job. Marco, I'm not gonna leave you out. A few ladies folks in the office, good job. Great job. I don't know how you have to excuse me. I don't know how we could get along without the staff that we have. I guess we could get along, but I don't think we'd be where we're at today. We just need to take time and thank each and every one of you for all you do, and hope you just keep up the good work. Thank you, Don, Bruce. I'm glad you in there too.
Before we get to Don and Bruce, Chief, you got anything else?
No, I'll hold my comment for later.
You sure?
Yes, sir.
Now's the time. Going once, going twice? Bring it on.
Back to the substation and the contracts. And I agree with Brian, or Commissioner Law. We've been buddies for a long time, so you can call him Brian. I agree with Commissioner Marlin. Contracts are a good thing. But if you're paying money for a full responder contract in an area, and we are still running calls in that area because we are closer geographically, there's a problem. And with the substation on Legion Road, we could address all of the areas that I mentioned. And I'd probably be hated one too, and you could probably alleviate one of those contracts. Now, that being said, if you put a substation somewhere, because I know it'll come up, you will run more calls. And depending upon where you put it at, you may be running a whole bunch of somebody else's as well. But to me, it's about the citizens and the service you provide the best response you can to it. And I'll just leave that at that.
All right, thanks, Chief.
Mayor, before you make that, when you do go through the break, we did put maps up in the back from current day power bill and 12 years ago power bill. So y'all can look at and see the amount of growth that we've actually had in the town over the past 12 years.
We're gonna take a 10-minute break. Actually, it'll take us off for about 10 minutes.
Sure you have the most.
All right, let's get to the finish line. We good? All right, Don, it's you.
Okay, the things that Chancellor had asked us to discuss that we had for last year and previous goals. We did get the new rear loader. It was ordered in July, delivered for build in December, and they estimate about a 300-day build out. So it'll be close to December that we actually get it. Just so that you all know for information, equipment sometimes takes a year to a year and a half to get it from the day of order. So it's not something that we can get right away. We did replace, on rotation, the service garage truck, and one of the mosquito machines. We are going to look at getting another one, but that's for later discussion.
Don, what page are we on?
That's not on that page. These are things that we had done from last year.
Oh, okay, sorry. All right, gotcha.
We got the rotary wheel balancer and the asphalt reclaiming trailer. That was critical for our police department because now we can do all 4 tires. They can bring one of their vehicles to us, and we can replace tires and start a bench stock of them as well, so that we can get them turned around quicker than having to go someplace else. And it is considerably less expensive.
Don, did you replace those tires on that Pathfinder if we can?
Last time I did, thank you. But they facilitated, did a good job.
We did do a crew leader position in the street department. We completed the installation of the rear doors at Town Hall, so that is now ADA compliant. And we are working towards the front. Y'all see it's all tore up right now. When it's complete, the reception and the permitting area is going to be ADA compliant, as well as we've taken additional measures to enhance the security in the front of town hall as well. We completed the dam emergency action plan and the downstream inundation study. It's a state requirement. So we got that finished and came into the state and the federal government. We were notified that our walking trail at the park was actually on private property. So we went and moved and replaced 330 linear feet of the walking trail last year. So that is now concrete, similar to what we've got out front in some of the areas. And future years, we are going to look at completely replacing all that asphalt for a better surface. So that'll happen in steps as time goes along. We did complete the multi-use path at the Lake Park, so that all that asphalt trail is gone. One of the things we did that wasn't on there, though, that was really critical, that y'all may not be aware of, is we actually handled the Sharps reclamation and disposal program for our residents, for people that are diabetics and stuff like that. The county and the government changed the way that we could get rid of them and had to handle as hazardous materials. So Bruce and his crew revamped that entire program so we were still able to provide that service to our residents at no cost to them and no additional cost to the town. We all know we completed the repairs of the Eagle Circle. We did go out and we got a grant for the Cameron Road sidewalk project to go from Hope Mills Middle School to Main Street. The Woodland Hills project is in process. Last week we got the engineering completed, and right now they are looking at issuing a notice to proceed for the 3rd of March, and that will be almost a $1.5 million project to get the stormwater and street repair done in that neighborhood. We did complete the standards and specs update so that when we go out and inspect the streets and everything else, we will be able to provide a better product for all of our residents. And as far as training, everybody wants additional training, but one of the things I want you all to know is that we, for our department, a lot of times actually bring training to us. Instead of trying to send 20 people to Raleigh to a class, we will bring one instructor here. And that way, all of our entire department, what we do is twice a year, we do stand-down days for training. And we'll bring somebody in, and then, of course, we offer the private for somebody else that might be able to make beneficial use of it as well. So those are things that we've got accomplished. All right. On our slides, the first thing that we've got are our major projects. We do have the Woodland Hills up there. The estimated cost of $1.7 million includes contingencies, but we do have our under contract. I think it's 1.456. So it'll be just over 1.5 county engineering probably when it's all said and done. East Patterson Street, our balance available is $4,050,000. The estimated cost is almost $4.5 million. I want you all to know right now that we are probably going to have to come and knock on the door and say we need $500,000 once this project was started. It's already engineered, or in engineering. It's soon to be at the 30% engineered portion. But this is a project that we cannot, and this is a table knocker, we cannot ignore. There are homes up at the top of that embankment. There's a water line, there's sewer lines. And it's not a matter of if that embankment fails. That embankment is going to fail. It is failing right now. And if it goes, it could potentially go catastrophically. And that's why we've been working. It's been a couple years in the making to get the engineering done and get the permitting done. But we're getting pressing on with that. One of the things that we did was we went back and through a brick grant application, we asked for an additional $2.2 million for that. That way we can leverage our funds from our ARPA and STIP. So if we get that, we'll be good enough on our funding that if we go back and do street rejuvenation with our leftover stuff like that, we can take care of some of the things that we actually do have. But that, I can't stress enough how critical getting that back is repaired. Okay. For our capital, and we're looking at replacing 1998 model mosquito machine. Everybody has expressed an interest in continuing that program, and since we are surrounded by water, it's probably one of the better ones that we do have. Life cycle replacement of pickup truck. Knuckle boom is what Elizabeth was referring to. We need to replace our original knuckle boom. It is, I want to say it's a 2014 model, but at one time, that was the only knuckle boom we had. So that was the truck that was on the road 24/7, Hurricane Matthew, Hurricane Florence, and some of the other major storms that we had. And it is just, it's time to retire it. New positions, we're growing like everybody else. I'm not looking at adding, but 2 positions. One is for a lead custodian. We're developing that department right now. Our fleet, and Ms. Leanne had mentioned how we are now up to 206 people. And not everybody has a truck, but even though we don't have general purpose trucks for everybody, I know in my department we have got a ton of special purpose vehicles. And they all need maintaining. Crew leaders, we're looking at this year doing a buildings and grounds crew leader and a sanitation crew leader. Not large expenses, but it is a promotion for somebody internally and gives us the opportunity to expand as the town is expanding. Then we're going to look at future years, of course, for our street sanitation department to keep going and backfill operators in future years. For our operational requirements, we're looking to rekey the town hall. And I want to do that because we have multiple times now been asked to go into an office or open a door for somebody, and department heads in the past years have done, and for whatever reason, they've changed locks, and we don't have keys or master keys for a lot of the doors in town hall. That's just bad juju. So I want to rekey that entire building, and we do need to have a policy that, department heads, just because they feel that they need it, they can't go and change locks. We need to have access to everything in that building.
Don, who maintains key control? Is it you? I mean,
It's supposed to be.
It's kind of wherever like.
There never has been.
There's the answer. There never has been.
And this is step 1.
What's the estimated cost to rekey?
It won't be extremely expensive.
Less than 5?
Not sure.
Okay. And then after that, whoever the key control is will oversee the rekey.
Yes, sir.
And that'll be in your department.
It will be in our department.
Okay.
That'll make it much easier for HR too, when we have people leaving, to know what we need to collect. Right now, we don't have an inventory, so we don't know what to collect.
That could be a security issue.
Correct.
I mean, it could be.
Whoever loses keys, you have to pay for the keys, just like the Army.
Yeah. Yeah, key control.
I can help you with key control.
Go ahead, Don, sorry.
There's been interest put out for the logbook. We don't have a statutory requirement for a logbook. It would be beneficial to us structurally as a town. This may be an opportunity to partner with PWC because of their 48-inch line downstream. It is more beneficial to them, that they don't have debris going over the dam during storm events and damage that 48-inch line sewer that they've got going across the creek. Because they have, that their estimate is about 11 million gallons of raw sewer goes through there every day. So if that gets damaged, again, that's indecent exposure. Bridge repairs with engineering support. Our bridges are still rated as good. Last DOT inspection we got, they are waning. They're showing where they're going to need some repairs. So we're looking at getting an engineer so that we can develop a plan and identify all of the structural repairs that we need to make, get a cost estimate on it, and then come back to the next fiscal year and actually do the repairs. The dam drainage system is something that Schnabel has recommended that we do. We've not had a dire need for it yet. After we completed it, we ended up getting that belly at the toe on the right-hand side downstream, but that has kind of settled out. And there was a wet spot that we had that was puddling for the first couple of years. But that has dried. There's no standing water or any signs that we're having any problems there. But at some point in time, we would like to go and dig in a drain in that four-bay area. A trailer for the street division, again, it's nothing large. As far as expense goes, but it'll allow us to take multiple lawnmowers and stuff out rather than having to have multiple trucks and trailers. Since we started going with crew cabs, we can, more efficiently mobilize people and equipment. And then ADA improvements, we're at the point we want to do subdivision curb ramps. That is probably going to be a multi-year process. We've been working on the relatively simple ones over the past few years. We're at a point where we want to get into Fox Meadow because of how the elevation changes are and the way that some of the sidewalks and the curbing is on South Main. There are ADA requirements that you have to have approaches, side rest areas, directional ramping and stuff like that. So that's going to have to be engineered. So we're looking at bringing in an engineer so that we do the designs for those two neighborhoods and then go back with a cost estimate for the following year to actually do the work.
Don, before we move on to capital, is there anything that was significant from the Schnabel dam inspection report?
No, we're looking good.
Okay. I just wanted to ask that question.
We have got to get buoys back out there on that lake. Now, they do not have to be as long as the other ones were. I think Schnabel said to go from one side to the other. But I've noticed, just by living over there, I've noticed big logs. And when they go over that dam, they stand straight up. And I know when they hit, they have to damage that concrete. So please, can we get a price on what it would be to put the buoys back on the lake?
I can tell you right now, it would be about $125,000.
And how long what's the length of that?
That'll be engineered. That's not for me to determine. There will be a hydraulic engineer that will determine anchor points and the safety length and all those clear areas. That's not for me to say. It's not for you to say. That's for somebody that is educated and trained in that area.
Okay, but can we please?
That's up to y'all.
We're at that to your list.
Yeah, we have it on there as something that we would like to do, but you've got to authorize spending the money to do it.
Okay, but I don't see it here on your operational requirements. I think is that
Number two, log
Second
boom.
one. How would I know a log boom is I'm not an engineer, I don't know anything about water other than I drink it and take a bath in it, but how would I know that buoys are log booms?
Well, there's a difference between a buoy and a log boom, a big difference. You know, to me, if you tell me you want a buoy out there, that's essentially a big float.
Okay,
A log boom is what you're asking for is a barrier.
okay, well, whatever it takes to help stop people from
That-
going
That's
over
why we
there.
put
where-
it, that's why we put it in the engineer's hands, because they're the experts at
Okay, as
those
long as
systems.
I know that's gonna be looked at.
We could explore the opportunity of partnering with PWC, and I think that's what Don mentioned.
Yes, sir.
I think that's the start point.
Okay. Whatever, let's just do something out there because the people are talking. Not too long.
Thanks, Don.
Okay, for capital and future years planning, they have not changed. You know, we are growing just like everybody else is in very limited space. So we're gonna have to look at expanding our footprint at some point in time. We're looking at a multi-story storage building, two-story that we can do some second-story, storage for things like the salt spreaders, mosquito machines and stuff like that, things that we can get off the ground. Government complex master plan, and we talked about expanding town hall. And this would be a great opportunity to have an expert look at the projected growth for the town, projected growth for whatever the support staff is going to be for that, and help with developing the government complex. And then, of course, we've got town hall expansion. And then for our grant funding items, we've been awarded the Cameron Road sidewalk for $699,000. That is a FAMPO award, and right now we're still working through some financial issues with how the allocations are. We need to get that right before we start it, because it's a lot easier to do it now than to try to do it later. The Safe Streets for All grant was a $24,000 match. There's been, $96,000 has been awarded to the town for that. We've asked for a 1 July start date for it, so it can go into the fiscal year, because it requires a $24,000 town match, so I know we can budget for it.
Starting retroactive motion.
Sorry.
Y'all know, about the brick grant, we asked for 2.275 on the brick grant. We're expecting to hear from that on the 24th of January, and we think we're gonna get through the first round pretty easily. And if we can get that, that's a 75-25, that's where I'm looking at leveraging our SCIF and ARPA funds that we already have in the bank against that. That way I can use that funding and take whatever's left over for some road repairs. Things that are not on there, though, that we've also started working on. We're looking at getting a proposal for feasibility and initial cost estimate for to change this, the Trade Street utilities, that's RDEC or RDED grant funding, do decorative lighting at the multi-use path, the Main Street sidewalk and mid-block potential project, and a pedestrian bridge from the chapel to Heritage Park. And then again, just to keep it in the conversation, we did not sell a lot of cemetery plots this year, but our cemeteries are getting full. Residential housing.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Any questions from the board before Don exits his brief? Done?
Can I add one thing to Don?
Yes, sir.
The only thing I want to add, and I talked to Chancellor about it, and a couple other people know. So as hello? Anything else? Okay. Can you hear me? So as Don and Public Works talk about expanding their operation, and we've all looked at the master plan where Public Works expands to tennis courts. We've made provision for them when we convert or when we build the tennis courts and pickleball courts over the golf course, one thing that everybody, I don't know if you all are aware of it, but, the tennis courts was built with LWCF money. And, we don't have to deal with it now, but when Public Works expands in that area, we have to submit paperwork to LWCF, which is both state and federal, letting them know we're doing that. And the rule of thumb is we gotta provide that same amenity within a reasonable distance, which it will be, at the golf course. Now, to get them to approve it, it's about a year process, but we have to do that, because if we don't, then we can never get an LWCF grant again. They are real particular and strict about, removing, tearing down, or doing away with amenity, that they provided LWCF funds with. And even though it was done years and years and years ago, it's in perpetuity, which means you can never do away with the basketball court or the tennis court. Both of those things were built with LWCF money. So I just want to throw that out there. And so, you know, it's not an issue right now. Even when we build a new tennis court, we don't have to alert them that we're doing that. It's just that when Public Works expands to that area, we got to go through that whole process while they're doing their engineering and design process so that it gets approved. Just want to put that out there.
Yeah, I think this was mentioned probably a couple boards back when we were first looking at it. We were looking just at those two. When we were doing the replacement for the basketball court, that's where that came up. So that's excellent comment to bring back out. Anything else? All right, who's next?
With that, it's my turn.
It is your turn.
Go to the slide. Let's sit on. Okay, I want to start out my presentation much like everybody else has, with celebrating the fact that every now and then we do achieve what the board asks us to do. We do what we're told or asked. And so when you set small goals and short-term goals reachable, you know, we're able to check those things off of our list. And so Heritage Park Phase 1 is complete. Reed's Journey Inclusive Playground complete. We purchased the 2 properties at the lake, and the schematic phase for the community center, sports complex, and outdoor pickleball courts have been completed. And we're at a point now where we will ask the board, can we move on to design development for the community center? So I want to point those things out because if you would recall, these are all goals that you all set for me the last time around at the last priority dinner. And so in summary, we kind of did the same thing. These are big money items, but they're small in number, but big in dollar number. But these are all things we all have talked about. And so my 3 priorities this year, in summary, is the design, development, and construction documentation of the community center development. Just want to remind everybody, we kind of switch gears a little bit from direction from the board. We all are in agreement that the goal is to build a new community center and convert the Parks and Recreation Center into a senior center. And so we've asked the engineers to switch gears and do it that way, and it's not going to cost us any extra to do that. But I will say that there's going to be a cost associated with converting the rec center into a senior center. Not too expensive, but there is going to be a cost. We got some issues there we need to address, and so you know, A before B, we do the community center design and look at the transition, and then we move directly into the conversion of the senior center. Those 2 things can be done simultaneously while the rec center is being built, but we like to budget for the senior center first, and then once that's rolling, come back and budget for the senior center, which could probably be achieved in a regular CIP. Heritage Park Phase 2 is our second goal. I've been given direction to move forward with that. We got some things in place for that. And then a new one for everybody. we've talked about it amongst some of the board members, but, now's the time to actually come clean and tell everybody what we've been doing. And so that is the Hodges property land acquisition. Okay, next slide, please. So first things first, as I mentioned earlier, we have completed the schematic phase for the community center site plan. And we can either have the design team come down and present it to everybody, or if it's the board's pleasure, we can move into design development, which gets more to the nuts and bolts of it. I will say that with the building being commuted into a community center, there are some specific things we ask the design teams to admit. And so we're still looking at about a 27,000 square foot building, but things associated with a suspended track, multi-purpose group exercise, artificial turf room, and an aquatic center. Those things have been omitted from the design for the community center. Also, along with the community center, we still wanted to show the design or the schematic for the pickleball / outdoor tennis courts, which is inclusive of a picnic shelter and outdoor restroom. So what you see there is 4 tennis courts and 8 pickleball courts outdoor with restrooms and a pavilion, if you will. Next slide. So if you look at the new square foot cost, we've had some conversations with Kenny, and we want to do keep what our goal is of not just having a community center, but we want this to be an addition to the EOC. So if you will recall from last year, we went from 300 square feet per commercial. According to the architects, we're now at 340 because we are now designing for a EOC, an emergency level building. So with that, you're looking at 27,000 square feet, which roughly is $9.1 million. The program pretty much stays the same with the mission of the aquatic center and senior related rooms. I do want to say that even though the existing rec center is going to be a senior center, you'll still have senior functions here. There's still going to be senior related classes here because you'll have pickleball, indoor pickleball here, and at the rec center. But it's just another opportunity if seniors wanted to do activities at the community center. We're not going to admit them from doing it. So there will be some opportunities to have senior programming at the community center. So there'll be 3 multi-purpose rooms for class and reservations, an expanded gymnasium with 4 half-size courts, administration offices. We're going to do a serving commercial kitchen that will allow us to bring back Meals on Wheels. That's the other function. We can't do Meals on Wheels over at the rec center because it's not equipped, but this building will have Meals on Wheels. That's one of the programs that we've been talking to some of the Coleman County agencies about bringing back. Locker room, restrooms, computer lab. We're also going to upgrade our maintenance shed and storage, so our guys get a new updated maintenance building, and hopefully do away with the maintenance shed we have at the golf course now. So with general conditions and parking lot, that's $2.7 million. The good thing about this process is the board did approve architectural and engineering design last year, so that funding is still in place. So it's not one of those things where we gotta provide funding for again. We still have money for design development and construction documents, and possibly if we wanted to do a design build bridge contract where we get a contract in, so we can look at a design build delivery method instead of a bidding out. My understanding in talking to some industry professionals, everybody's going to design build now anyway because of how difficult it is to bid out. So we had a chance to talk to a number of people at the conference in Tampa, and confirm. That's what a lot of municipalities are going to now. So that's the delivery method I want to look at doing now. And so with design contingency, et cetera, we're looking at about $13 million. So that's within that $13 to $15 million we set forth goal last year.
Well, Marco, what would you estimate the renovation of the existing Parks and Rec? What are we looking at there? $1 million less or $1 million?
At least $1 million. And the reason why I said your most expensive item, and we put it in the budget each year, for a 15,000 square foot building, you should not have 10 HVC units. Okay. I think we have 10 up there now. It might be 11, I can't remember. It's more than we should. You should have maximum three 12-ton units for a building. But more importantly than that, it needs to be designed by a mechanical engineer, so that it's designed the correct way. I don't know that it was designed when we had it built. What I do know is it was put in by a contract. He went out of business, and so we kind of, tacked on maintenance over the years and finally got somebody that can service the HVAC units. But that's really not. It's really not efficient. It's not an efficiently heated and air cooled building. And so that's one of the first things. That's going to be your most expensive item. Then the other one's going to be your flooring and some of the other things. But I'm looking at, based on the numbers I looked at and started doing my own takeoff from previous projects, you're looking at about $1.2 million in renovations to the existing building.
So between the two projects, you're looking at probably 15.
Yes, so you're right back at that 15.
Right back at that 15.
And we want to fund, and get to fund both of them, whatever method you all want to go with, we can look at doing it that way. In addition to that, I've already talked to the architects about upfitting the existing rec center for a senior center. But I told them that's probably going to be an amendment to actually, once the funding's in place, we have them do the two projects simultaneously.
Yeah, they'll be in concert with each other.
Right.
Okay. Yes.
Real quick, so with the new community center, because it's gonna be storm res and EOC, will that be able to be a white flag shelter?
It can be, and when I first heard that, either building, the building we have now can be that. So yes, it can be.
Okay, because I was under the impression that I need locker rooms to be a white flag shelter or something like that.
I didn't know that.
I'm not.
I know there's been talks about making the existing rec center there.
It's a regular shelter.
I spoke with County Commissioner Chairman, Kirk Vivier the other day. The county is wanting to expand the White Flag program out here to Hope Mills and Grace Creek and also east of the river. He said they're going to try to have some funding. What he suggested is instead of us actually doing the work ourselves, put out an RFP for nonprofit organizations to bid on how much it would cost for them to provide the building, the people that would work there, stay there every night, food and everything. But we would have to be willing to put in some funds as well if the county would give us funds to go along with that.
Now, would that be for the existing building or the new building?
Yeah, it wouldn't be considered our building, they would provide the building.
Okay.
Or if we provided the building, then we could put out an RFP for what a nonprofit would come in
Sure.
and take care of it.
We could definitely do that. It's new to me that we need locker rooms, but
I did look into what Commissioner Craven shared. I think, from my understanding, it's our building, and if we were talking about making the shelter anyway, during a crisis situation, it would convert to a shelter. I think the RFP is to find an organization that will come in and run the White Flag program in our building. At least that's what my interpretation. We still build it. I think it's a great thing to partner with the county for White Flag and general shelters. But from my understanding of what I read, it looked like we wouldn't run the white shelter program during that crisis situation. That organization we found through RFP would come in and operate it.
Well, that's not what he told me. He said we could offer the building and put an RFP out for a nonprofit to come in and use our facility. But he said that there are churches and other nonprofit organizations that would provide the building, everything for us out here. And, that might be a better way for us to go than for us to try to do it ourselves.
Right. We definitely look into it. The questions I would have is how often and how often we have to operate at. Is it just when it's cold or?
Well, White Flag, I guess it's considered when it's cold, but I would imagine, because you know, they have heating centers, like Hope Mills, the library is a heating center. They're open on Sunday afternoons from 2 to 6. It's just a heating center where people can go there and get warm.
During the day?
But no overnight stay.
Okay.
But I would imagine the same thing if it was hot. We might need a cooling center or something too, so.
We definitely look into it and see what the criteria is.
Yeah, so the white flag is just when it's cold, and the same thing, Commissioner Craig was saying, I think it would be we could have that, convert that same space into the areas where people can come when it's very hot outside. I think one of the challenges, this is maybe something that the homeless committee can look at, for instance, is the space. You need a lot of space to do that, and I think the reason why we don't have it now, because some churches or places are not running them here, is because they don't have the space. And if you look at how large this county is, we don't have a lot of people, a lot of spaces for people to have white flags. So I think one of the challenges, and that's why I think our space is better finding a nonprofit to help, is because you should have like a substantial amount of space. Otherwise, I think we'll have more places in the county that offer the shelter for white flags.
I just wanted to make sure we did what the county said, so we get money from them.
Yes, ma'am.
And also, I might add, with a emergency shelter like that, Lamarcus gonna have the community center built that way and probably upfit the present one we have. You've got to have so many square footage per person, and I have to look into it. I don't think our buildings are big enough to do that. You know what I'm saying? We can have a shelter, but we have to make sure, and he'll check if we qualify for programs based on the size of the building.
And the amenities, like the locker room required, we already don't meet it over there.
Yeah. But we meet a regular emergency shelter sometimes. So we just gotta check, see what they require.
Okay, let's move on to, the other priority, and this was set by the board also. We're told that we want to move forward with, Heritage Park Phase 2. The good thing about that, McAllis has already given me the master plan that shows Phase 2. They've agreed to, provide the graphic for a part-tip grant, and we've already started the process of doing a part-tip grant, for Heritage Park Phase 2. Not only a part-tip grant, but I was told by the existing, our grant consultant that we should, combine grants to help us with our match. So she suggested that we apply for LWCF and an ADA grant that's provided by the state. So 3 grant sources to help us with our matching project. So we are looking to all 3 of those possibilities. Not saying we'll be able to meet the criteria for all, but we're talking to the grant writer to look at all 3 of those grants and see what the dates are. And if not this cycle, we get 3 years of part-tip grant, definitely in the next 3 years. Look at other grants, kind of like we did with Phase 1. We got the part-tip grant first, then came DEQ, then came EPA. So that's another way to look at it.
Did we have to match that part of grant?
We did. We did. Yep.
We did.
It's a 50-50 match. We only asked for 300,000 the last time. I'm going to go for the full 500,000 this time, because I was told we should go for the full 500,000. The cost estimates for Phase 2 are still good. We're looking at $1.7 million. I want to be up front, even though you see the bridge on that master plan, this does not include the The pedestrian bridge, just the permitting and the reviews by, the Corps of Engineers takes about a year, probably even more than that. So, I told the town manager, if we could make the pedestrian bridge its own phase altogether, that $1.7 million dollar number is a good number. You can still use that for the estimate. We'll still have to, for this particular project, we'll still have to do, construction documents and that whole process. But, here again, I was told that we should look at a design build, delivery method. We had a great contract last time around, he's interested. That being a qualification-based process, can't promise that we'll get the same design team, but, having completed phase one successfully, they'll be a good candidate for phase two, if we want to go the design build route. The other good thing about that is throughout the design process, you know, you'll get real-time numbers from a general contractor to tell you whether you're within budget or not. I love engineers, but a lot of times their estimates are a bust. They're never within, you know, the bid. You know, engineers aren't contractors for a reason, and they're terrible at cost estimating. I'm going to say that. And so having a contractor on board to actually review the numbers as they go through the process would be a great way to go about doing it.
Marco, before you move on, I want to step back to the community center. Is it your recommendation that we pursue design build on this project?
Absolutely.
And is that the consensus of the board? Want to make sure that we have that consensus. I think that's what you need to hear to move forward with design build. Everybody good? Okay. And also, I guess we'll do the same thing on Heritage Park.
Yes.
Design build on both projects. Everybody good with it? Okay. All right. I didn't want to miss that point.
Here's a piece that might get me in trouble. Maybe not.
Opportunities.
So there's been a lot of debate, and I've been on the receiving end of some beat up on it, but you know, we spent a substantial amount of money on a sports complex. I'm gonna stop calling it a sports complex. It's a multi-field complex because those fields were designed to be baseball and soccer fields. Quite a few people didn't want the golf course and wanted us to build it elsewhere. And we actually have been in contact with the Hodges on some other projects, and they turned us down because even though the Hodges own 300 acres, they're not desperate to subdivide it for anybody. But when we came with the proposal to put the sports field on 25 acres of land we require from them, it seemed like a win-win in talking to Cumberland County, distinctly Fayetteville, and for what we're trying to do for economic development. It helps us out in two ways. One, it is highly visible from I-95. Two, National Parks and Recreation Standards say we should have a regional park in that area because we're expanding out that way. We don't. So more than just sports complex, this will be a park which will serve the Graves Creek area and all that development we've done out there. So what we've done thus far, we've done a letter of engagement where we asked the family, well, first of all, they're willing to sell us 25 acres. Like I said before, they've told me no twice before, but when we came to this proposal and said we need a place for a sports complex, we'll be willing to name it after the patriarch of the family and pay homage. They're all for it. So the next step in this whole process is the due diligence phase, meaning we need to do, you go to the next slide, Chad. This right here shows the 300 acres off I-95 that the Hodges own. The engineers have selected the best 25 acres to do the multi-purpose field complex. If you go to the next slide. So I want to get direction from the board for two things. One is to amend the master plan to show the multi-purpose complex on this property. And then two, permission to move forward with due diligence, meaning do a site appraisal and a topographic and boundary survey of the site. Both things of which we've already gotten permission from the family to do. We just need permission to spend the money and permission to go ahead and do it. Once we've done the appraisal, it'll give us a dollar amount of how much the 25 acres is worth, and then we'll come back to see if it's the town's pleasure to purchase the 25 acres.
Yeah, I'm just wanna package this up the correct way. The motion would be to approve the site appraisal at 8,000, and then the topographical and boundary survey at 12,000. That would be the motion to approve. For a total of $20,000. And we have available funding, right, Drew?
We'll use some of the interest we've received on the ARPA funds.
Okay.
If you approve it tonight, have your budget amendment the first week of February. Let's want to add it on the 21st.
Sure.
I do the February.
You'll get a shoe coming across us. You say anything else about Tuesday night? Go ahead.
I'll put that in the form of a motion, whatever we need to get that done.
You have a motion, do we have a second? Any other discussion? All in favor? Seeing none opposed, motion carries, you got it. All right, go.
The other piece is to amend the master plan to show the sports complex, the multi-purpose field complex on the Hodges property. And so basically what you'll get when CHA comes back with the final master plan, you'll see one site that'll have the pickleball complex, the community center, and the parking, and all the service related for that. But then you'll also have a master plan that will show the design. Essentially, they've taken the design and superimposed it on the site, so we know it fits. But you'll see another master plan that they'll have to, we'll have to get approved by you all. So you get two master plans, one with the community center and the other with the sports complex showing the site.
Who's gonna do the master plan?
The same company.
Same company that we're involved in right now?
Yes.
Now, that means that the community center, everything's gonna go out there with the boxes.
No,
No,
that's gonna stay at the golf course.
no. Functional sports complex.
There's no,
Go ahead.
you need a motion to
We do.
amend the, master plan as well. I'll make that motion too.
Second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Seeing none opposed, you got both of them.
Thank you.
Will that conclude, your presentation on Marco?
It does, thank you.
All right, any other questions for Marco before we move on to, oh, he's here. Yeah, the guy over there with a tie. Yeah, good shit. All right, thank you, Marco.
Thank you.
All right, chief. I think you're, are you the last? No, you're not last, but you're close. Yeah, Drew's
I'll wrap
right.
us up. I'm keeping us from short of it.
Chief, it's all yours. I even brought you the big book.
But the big box is-
I brought you the big book. So did Mayor Pro Tem. We brought you the big book.
So we really just have, four main priorities, that would impact the budget. The other one that we might add a little to would be our training budget, being that we have those additional SROs and function officers, they'll have to train them, obviously, provide training, but I think that's negligible. I think we can probably work that out with just within our budget. But the four main things we have are, and I'll start off with the first one, substation, and I just want to clarify that, because I think the verbiage is confusing. I don't think that the Hope Mills Police Department will ever be in a position to have substations where they're sending patrol officers out. I don't see that being in it. When I say patrol officers, I'm talking about the squads of patrol officers that work around the clock. I don't ever see us needing, unless there's some drastic change in the town geographically, like Fayetteville, obviously they're, 50 square miles or whatever they are. So that obviously they have to have and they also have a certain number of officers so that they can turn patrol squads out of each of their substations. I don't ever see that being an issue for the Hope Mills Police Department unless there's some drastic annexation of, 10,000 people. I don't see that even with the predicted growth. What we need is just space. So if the word is substation or satellite or annex or whatever, we just need space. And one building will do, as long as it's, big enough to accommodate the people. And what we would do is we move certain units out of this main facility and push them into that other facility. So really, it's just office space. Now, ideally, you don't want to do it right here next to the PD because it does have some benefits in reducing response time. So for argument's sake, there's another section of town, although it will be certain units and patrol officers wouldn't be briefed and turned out from that satellite station, if you would, it would still be accessible to patrol. So if an officer has to do a report or use the computers or process evidence, they wouldn't have to come all the way back here to police headquarters, come way out of their assigned patrol area to do that. They can just go right through that complex and take care of it. But it would also have officers there whose primary duties would not be patrol, but if an incident did come in, then they can respond expeditiously. But I don't forecast ever seeing us having to have, like the fire department, substations where they're actually turning squads out of it, if you would. We just need one building for space because we're at full capacity and we're busting at the seams and have already outgrown like our evidence facility and the female locker room, stuff like that. So I just want to be clear on that. I know we just discussed this at the last town meeting, so I'll just blow through it because I don't want to be redundant. But the female locker room is too small, as we discussed. The parking lot is too small. Our evidence facility is at capacity. We are struggling to find space for our evidence. With the hiring of the SROs and the crime scene unit officers, they don't have any workspace, those officers. We had to order some cubicles and retrofit them into the current space here in front of windows and such. We had to dismantle some other workspace in order to fit them. Any new building that we do obtain will also have the ability we'll make sure of it, and this would not impact the purchase of the building or any such thing. We'll also have the ability to serve as an off-site EOC if need be. From what I understand, during the hurricanes with the flooding, and I wasn't here, so correct me if I'm wrong, but certain sections of town were cut off from officers. So this would have the ability to be able to function in that capacity if need be for whatever weather event or something that we needed. And so, unlike the fire department, we don't have the ability to contract with other agencies, or we do not also have the closest dispatch protocol where you dispatch another town or another city to answer a call if they're closest to it. So, but like I said, I just want to be clear, I don't ever see us needing substations where we're turning patrol officers out. So that's a good thing. We just need one building that's capable of holding some officers that we need space for now, and then if we add additional officers, which we're going to have to accommodate some more officers, and that facility will be accessible to patrol. But I can move on from that. The dead horse. So the next thing is additional officers. Since I got here in 2022, one of the first things I did is a manpower study. And I made recommendations on how many officers we should hire each year to keep up with the anticipated growth. both residentially as well as commercially. And I think it's important to note too that we're also just not planning for the people that actually live here or the stores that are being built here. We have to plan on the amount of people that are patronizing those stores and are coming to town. And we're also situated next to the 6th largest city in North Carolina, Fayetteville, obviously. So a lot of the issues that they're dealing with there spill over here, and we're forced to deal with that as well. We've had significant increase in call volume just taking over the responsibilities at the school. I think in my strategic plan, we have answered well over 300 calls already, 300 incidents at the school since taking over, since school started on August 26th. And I think that was the estimate, that was the numbers based in December. Based in November. So we have another month and a half to add to that. So I'm sure we're probably close to 500 incidents as we speak. We are, one of the things I'd like to do, and I gave you in that plan, 21 officers would be needed over the next few years. One of the things I'd like to do sooner than later is to open our building 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Because right now it closes at 5 p.m. So if anybody comes, God forbid, they're in a domestic violence situation or somebody's looking for the police, they think they found a safe haven, and then you run into the front door there and there's a phone that says call for the police. And then they're calling the county, and then an officer is being dispatched, and they can be coming from the other side of town. So I'd like to open this building up 24/7 and staff it with the shift commander. This way, when somebody walks into that building, there's a police officer there that can address their immediate concerns. The other thing it does is it gives our residents the opportunity to come here, whereas if they needed a copy of a report or something right now, they have to get here before the close of business. And a lot of people work and don't have that ability to do. So this would enable them to come at 7 or 8 o'clock at night, get a copy of the report, and then you see the shift commander, and he can pull up the report and he can give them a copy. Go ahead, sir, you have a question.
One of the number one things that we hear, and we're hearing this more and more and more, is our police department closed after 5 p.m. We are a growing community. And now that we have taken on the SRO function during the day, and you like this one, and after school activities, we've amped up the game. We're no longer a small town. We are not. This is something that I think we really have to look at, and we have to look at this and make some tough decisions on how to open up this building 24/7. I think the safety of our community is looking for that, because look at the amount of crime that goes on after 5, and then look at what residents have to do. If they have an incident, where do they go? They come in the lobby, they get a phone. That's what we have in place right now. They come in the lobby, and there's a phone. Not a lieutenant, not a sergeant, not a sworn police officer, but a phone. We're better than that. We are. Chief, continue.
So,
wait a minute, Commissioner Marley, do you have something? Can we raise the heat?
Yeah, raise the heat in here so it's cold. Let me ask you a question.
I concur.
Does that mean that there will be somebody 24/7, 7 days a week that will actually answer the phone here?
No, there'll be an actual body.
No, that will answer the phone if somebody calls in for help or whatever.
Oh.
Somebody on the desk, so to speak.
Well, they don't ever call here. When they call, the way it's set up here, when the town decided to give up dispatch years ago, they call 911 and it goes to Cumberland County, and then they dispatch our officers. And that will continue. I mean, we don't have, it would be an astronomical cost to bring back dispatch to Hope Mills to provide that service on their own. Plus, you would need a facility to do it. It would, you're costing millions of dollars just to bring back dispatch. And at this point, I don't think that's necessary.
Yeah, I didn't know that if there was going to be people here, if they could, the phone rang, they could pick it up and talk to someone, or they would still have to.
Well, they can
go
call a
through 911.
non-emergency number, obviously, if you have a non-emergency call, but it's not like they're calling here to get a police response and then we're going to dispatch with her. That would not change. So I'll just continue on that at the end of it. So what my goal would be is our records window here is when you walk into the lobby and you see the two glass windows there, staffed during the day by our records personnel. Behind that is another room connected to that. And it has rolling shelves where they used to store records. One of our goals was to digitize and to get rid of paper records. So we were able to accomplish that, and everything has been digitized now in searchable form. So we don't use those shelves. So I could either give them to another town department that needs them or whatever. Or if we did get another building, maybe put them there. But I would take those shelves out, and that opens up the area where the lieutenant would stay. Each shift, the lieutenant would be assigned there. We would also have the ability, and I know Lamarco and I have discussed, increasing the town's camera capabilities, the stationary cameras, and our real-time crime center cameras, QSIS, which we're in the process of giving to the schools. So they'll have screens there where the lieutenant will actually be able to watch those while they're working. So right now, the cameras at the parks, per se, they're great, but all they're doing is they're actually just capturing the crime being committed, and hopefully it's something we can use to identify the suspects, and we've been very good at doing that. But this will be live footage where now if we see somebody in the park after hours, our lieutenant can get on, the officer in charge can get on the radio and send a patrol officer over there right away. And I know Lamarco and I have discussed increasing our camera capabilities, especially at town facilities. So that would be one of the benefits of having that now. Because right now we have no officers in the building after hours. Some of the additional officers, so that would provide for a lieutenant on every squad. Right now we have 2 lieutenants that both supervise 2 squads. So there's a 50% of the time there's no lieutenant working. It's just a sergeant and the officers on the road. And the sergeant's job is to be a first-line supervisor to make sure officers are doing things like their reports and stuff like that. They don't have the ability to make command-level decisions. And the lieutenant would be the station house commander, keep the building open 24/7, and has, in essence, runs the department after hours. Obviously, if there's a situation, we come from home, but they're running things after hours. The other thing, there's a lot of services that we are not providing that I would like to provide to the town, and which requires additional officers. So I'd like to be able, so a resident or a business could call us and say, hey, can you send somebody over to do a survey to show us how to harden our facility from being a victim of crime. So an officer would go to somebody's house and make recommendations like trim your hedges down below the ground floor windows because somebody can hide behind them and they can get in your window and break into your home. Put a bar in your sliding glass doors. Add additional lighting. And this is a service that a lot of agencies provide, and it's excellent for the community. It's free of charge. The officers are trained to make those assessments. They go there and they make recommendations to businesses and homeowners on how to make their property, hardened, so they're not just easy victims of crime. There's some other community programs I think are beneficial. I'd love to do a citizen police academy. Fayetteville does a lot of places do it. A youth police week. In New Jersey, where I came from, we started off with 1 week, and it's the kids come and they actually, it's like they're in a police academy, and there's officers that take them through the paces. It grew so much that they had expanded to 6 weeks, because they had hundreds of kids that did it, and they go a week at a time. And they get to go to the range and shoot paintballs like at targets, and they get to go through, police training, how to do motor vehicle stops, and not only is it bridging a gap and doing, great for officers to interact with the community members, but these are all different services that I think we should be providing to our community, especially as we grow. Go ahead.
Chief, that would really benefit since we, assumed the SRO mission in the schools.
Yeah.
That would really, really benefit.
And then the other thing is the Police Explorer program, and that's for youth between the age of 14 and 18, where they actually work alongside. They normally have 2 meetings a month where officers provide them training, and then they assist at town events, like for the July 4th fireworks event. They can help park cars and stuff. And it's getting them familiarized with our police department. They get to learn whether or not a career in law enforcement is for them. And then that's future people that apply to our agency later on. So it's like a farm team, really, if you think about it. Like, the major sports institute, they have farm teams, and they feed them up to be police officers later on. So these are all different things that I would love to be able to provide for the community, and I think we should be providing. But obviously, we need to hire some additional officers. After, you'll have to hire for the next few years, a significant number. But once you get to that, I don't see any huge increase of having to do that same thing again. You might have to add 1 or 2 based on changing circumstances, or, if they built another school in Hope Mills and we had to provide another SRO, we might have to hire an SRO. But this would get us to be able to provide professional service that we should be providing. There's a lot of things that we're just unable to do because of manpower. And it would also add an additional officer to each of the patrol squads. Right now it's a sergeant and 5 officers, but that doesn't account, like we have people out, we have 2 or 3 officers right now that are out on FMLA because they just had babies. So they're gone for 12 weeks. So that's right away, there's 3 squads that are short an officer. We have to provide mandatory training that state mandates that we provide. We'd love to be able to train additional training, but we're short on the road, so it really hampers training, like the fire chief mentioned. The better trained, the less liability, the better service you offer. Right now, if an officer makes an arrest, due to the conditions at the wait time at the jail, we had an officer the other day wait 10 hours to turn their prisoner over at the jail. That's 10 hours that they're not available to patrol. So we need to bolster an extra officer on each squad to make sure that we have ample coverage and we're able to provide training, somebody off sick, somebody on an FMLA. This way we don't ever decrease our staffing level. So that's all I have in reference to the hiring, talking points on hiring officers. Anybody have a question before I move on to the next topic? No? Next is vehicles. We are finally rid of all of the Crown Vics, which had 130 or 140,000 miles on them or more.
This is a milestone.
What's that?
This is a milestone.
Yeah, they're currently in the Smithsonian, and you can visit them if you'd like. They are, we're rid of the Crown Vics.
Matt's got a couple of these together.
Yeah.
Too.
Matter of fact, I've got one of those Crown Vics.
We have some other vehicles that still have some high mileage, so we're requesting 5, and at that point, all of our high mileage vehicles will be gone, and it will significantly cut down on our repair costs, which have been significant over the last few years. All these new vehicles are currently, they have a warranty. A lot of the work that if something does go wrong is free because they're under warranty, and any other work would be minor. So it's really cutting our repair costs down. And of course, that's what we need right now. We would be able to get rid of some vehicles if you did approve those extra officers. so we can keep the building open and stuff, we'd have to order a couple extra vehicles as well. But as you know, we don't purchase them, we contract with Enterprise, and, I think we've discussed this before, but it's a really good program. They, not only do they, as all the equipment rolled right into the lease price, it's not a traditional lease where, you know, we have the option to keep the vehicle at the end if we don't want to sell it, but they monitor the vehicles to make recommendations when it's best for us to sell, when there's the most equity in the vehicle, when it starts getting higher mileage. That equity, once we sell it, they sell it for us, it's all hands off, they roll that money right back into the program. They also negotiate deals at repair shops, so our repair costs are less, and they monitor fuel usage too, which keeps officers accountable, but it also lets us know if the vehicle is consuming too much fuel, maybe there's a maintenance problem with it. So they monitor the small things, and then this way, it prevents them from becoming major things, which we know could be more costly. Any questions about the vehicle?
Any questions? All right.
And then the only other thing, and this is something that it's a recurring cost. I hope to offset this with asset forfeiture. We are expecting, we're starting to get some checks in now. We are expecting asset forfeiture to offset this kind of an expense for this next piece of equipment. But we're in need of, it's called Gray Key and Axiom software and a forensic computer. As I'm sure you can guess, a high percentage of our cases involve a cell phone or a computer. And in order to extract the data from those devices, it requires this software program. Right now, we've been fortunate enough where Fayetteville, and being this is a public record, public meeting, we are very fortunate to have the partnership that we have with the Fayetteville Police Department. And we help them as well. We send our bomb dog there. We're back and forth, but they're very good to us in things that we don't have, helping us out until we get those things ourselves. But right now, in order to get a phone or a computer, the data extracted, we have to either ask Fayetteville or the SBI. And the problem with that is, obviously their cases, and rightfully so, should take precedent over ours. They have a high volume of cases. So what could take us a day or two might take 6 or 8 weeks. And that's halting our criminal investigation because a lot of evidence is obtained on those devices. These devices allow us to extract our own data off phones and computers. So it's imperative that we're able to stand alone there, because who knows if the volume of their work gets to the point where they're unable to help us anymore, not for lack of wanting to, but just not being able to. So that's the last item on our.
What's the cost, Chief?
It's about $60,000 a year.
A year?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And like I said, I'm hoping to, when asset forfeiture starts rolling in, to offset some of that. But, you know.
That was my follow-up question too, is asset forfeiture.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, I can't guarantee how much, I'm predicting that we're gonna be able to offset a lot of these costs, because I can tell you what we have pending in that system right now. And we have pending a percentage of $3 million at this point, and that's just from this year alone. So as that starts rolling in, we'll be able to offset some of these expenses. But again, that's not a guarantee that next year we'll have that much, you know. So, but this is, these devices, computers and phones, if you don't have the password, you have to be able to access them somehow. So we get a search warrant. Once we get the search warrant, these devices give us the ability to access them even without a password.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, how much of a percent do you get on your drug forfeiture? You said a certain percentage.
Yep.
I'm
So
just curious,
So there's two different kinds, there's state and there's federal. State, it's actually what they do is they actually tax the amount of illegal narcotics the person has. And then we get 85% of the tax value on that. That's not a significant amount. It sounds higher than it is, but all significant cases we take federal. And federal is based on your participation. So if it's strictly the state is 75%, not 85%, 75%. Federally, so if it's strictly a Hope Mills case and we take it federal, and that's what's imperative about having our task force officers, which are Hope Mills officers that have been deputized, if you will, by a federal agency to serve as federal officers. So they have the ability to take those cases federal. And so if it's strictly a Hope Mills case, the federal government gets 20% and we get 80%. But if it's a joint case where maybe it's us and Fayetteville and Spring Lake, then it's based on the amount of participation your agency has. So if it's all equal, then we get 25%. If it's not, if we did half the work, we get 50%. That's all determined by the federal government.
I just wanted to know.
Sure.
Okay, before we move on,
Chief, has there been an occasion when we needed motorcycles to patrol the streets?
No. I mean, there's two theories behind that, and part of our manpower thing too, those additional officers is to get some traffic officers, which would handle the crash reports, be able to investigate serious injury accidents. They would also be trained in traffic engineering, which I'm glad you kind of refreshed my memory there. So like, if we're having accidents at a certain intersection, our officers will be trained to go there and try to identify factors that may be contributing to it, like maybe overgrown bushes or something like that. But there's motorcycles are good when there's high traffic volume, because they're able to get in and out of traffic a lot easier when if traffic is backed up, it's more difficult for patrol cars to do it. But they also come with a level of danger to do that too, because in and out of traffic, even when they're careful, some people don't see motorcycles as well as they do police cars, as you know from driving. So I would say no. The only thing I could see a motorcycle, and if we got it for free or got a grant or something, it's very nice ceremonial to lead a parade or to escort a funeral or something like that. But as far as everyday patrol usage, I don't see a need for it.
Thank you. Okay, Chancellor, we'll have to ride a cruiser.
okay, Chief. Any further comments, questions? We got one to go. Thank you, Chief. All right, Drew. Tell us how we're gonna pay for all this.
Yeah. Okay, as far as the finance department, I'm gonna keep this short and sweet and quick.
Yay.
And see how many questions y'all have. But as far as the regular operating budget, for next year, we'll have certain line items that might increase. Office supplies always cost more each year. That'll probably go up a little bit. Certain contracts increase each year. That'll probably go up a little bit in finance. And then, we'll go back and look at our training budget to see if there's new conferences or things we can take advantage of. I always ask my staff, what are they more likely wanting to take part in for conferences and training? So we'll see if we can make some additions there if that's needed. But going in order of what I've got on the screen here, bond financing. We've talked about this several times, and we've narrowed it down to more than likely, instead of doing a general obligation bond referendum in November, we're looking at the possibility of just doing what's called just bond finance or LOB financing, which is more just like a regular bank loan, but it's treated like a bond. You still get the advantages of bond without having to go through all the hoops and the extra cost. So if we were to do that, it also reduces the amount of time that it takes in order to get the money. So if we do the regular bond financing, if this spring, when we get to our budget retreat, we narrow down by that time, and we'll have some more meetings between now and then, what projects we specifically want to fund with this. We will have our delegates meeting by that time, and maybe there are certain things like the community center we can push for the delegates to pay for, and then maybe the other half, the Heritage Park or the tennis courts and pickleball for the community center project. We'll fund that part, maybe we can get them to do the building, but we'll have to narrow down specifically and exactly what Parks and Rec projects and what street projects do we want to finance with the bond financing. Without doing a referendum, or if we were to do it the referendum way, it would be voted on in November. We wouldn't see the money till probably between March through June of the next year. We do regular financing for this, like we're recommending now. We can have the money as early as August of 2025 and speed up getting some of these projects done because the money would be available a lot earlier. Now, if we were to say we don't have it nailed down what projects we want in March or at that meeting, that's okay. It just pushes us back a month. Say we finalize them in April. That's all right. Instead of getting the money in August, we get the money in September. We set our schedule based on when we want to determine the certain things that we have to do in order to get the loan. So just know, the longer it takes us to figure out what we want to finance, it pushes the process back that much. So if we say we have to wait for the delegates to tell us, yes, we will fund this, yes, we will fund that, before we decide what we're going to do the bond funding with, that's okay, but it does push back the time frame, waiting on that. So the earliest, if we hit all of our marks, we could potentially have money in August of 2025, less than a year from now, to start some of these projects. The other thing with the bonds was we had our, what's it called? Our debt capacity and affordability updated. So we met with, Ted Cole came here from Davenport, met with Chancellor, the mayor, and I believe, Kim Hunter, were you on the phone or on the screen? And he gave us some updated figures depending on how much we think we want to borrow. If we were to borrow $10 million, that kind of is the equivalent of 3.12 cents of tax in order to pay, if we were to pay the whole 10 million from a tax increase. If we were to borrow 15 million, it would be 5.83 cents of a tax increase that would cover that debt. And that'd be 15 million for 20 years at 5% is the scenario we're using here. And if we were to borrow $20 million, it'd be 8.56 cents of tax. Now, that's at our current tax rate and tax value. So our next thing here is property tax reval. As you know, this is a game changer when you have a reval year. The last one game changed us the negative way because it was a reduction in property tax 8 years ago. This year it's not going to be so. It is going to go up, and it's going to be, the county says, significant an increase in the value. They will have me some numbers probably the first week of February. I was hoping it would be more along this time so I could bring that up to you now, but I've talked to them again today. They said more than likely the first week of February is when we'll know what the new values are. So in thinking how we want to do the reval, we're going to have another meeting once we get those numbers. And we'll need to determine what things, just like this loan, do we want this reval to pay for. We're in discussions about the sales tax. One of the first things the county told us is, if you need to make up for the sales tax number, you need to do that with your reval. We'll have to consider that. We'll have to consider this bond money. We'll have to consider all these operational things that each department has talked about. Projects, we're looking at grants, we're looking at funding from other sources, those sorts of things. But our day-to-day operational costs will need to come from possibly a tax increase or some other revenue source. For the grants usually pay for projects. The state funds that we get are usually projects and project-related things. The drug funds that we get are usually capital items that go towards the police department, not day-to-day operational type things. So we're going to have to determine what services and what operations does the town want to increase when we're talking about the revow or property taxes. So there'll be a lot of things. So it's not something I need to really spend a lot of time on now because we don't know what the numbers are. So we could talk hypotheticals, but that could be completely different once we get the numbers. So as soon as we get those numbers in February, we'll be setting up a time to have a meeting and discuss, okay, what things do we want this to cover, and how does that translate to the sense of property tax? Right now, before the revow, 1 cent is $139,000. As we are right now. I ran some hypotheticals, and I got it to the potential of 1 cent being $185,000. But I thought there's no sense in really going through those numbers because it may not even be close to that. It can be higher, it can be lower, we don't know at this point. So any questions on the bond financing or property tax?
Go ahead.
They kind of go together a little bit.
Now, with the bond financing, can we, like, if we want to purchase the fire trucks and stuff like that, can we use that?
I would not use bond financing for that.
No?
That would be something we just do a regular loan like we did for the other stuff.
Okay.
What we've done in the past was a 10-year loan for the fire trucks. And it was supposed to be the way we had set it up, and what that schedule showed is when there was 2 sets of loans that ran 5 years apart. So when the first loan was 5 years in, we start the second one. And when that one's 5 years in, then we start, the other one's paid off, and then we start another one. So you have 2 10-year loans running 5 years apart, and then the cycle of fire trucks just goes with it. But now, that was also, back then, a fire truck was about a year and a half in order to construct. Now it might be 3.5 years in order to construct. So we do need to possibly get some input from y'all. Should we, since it takes 3.5 years to order for a fire truck to be built, go ahead and let the chief know, can we order a truck this spring? So we'll have it by July of 28. And then the first debt payment would be July of 29.
So we would have to say for the board of the future, watch this video and you're gonna have faith in our decision.
I mean, you have to order a truck that much in advance. So if he needs them now, and it's gonna take 3.5 years to get it, we're just gonna have to wait 3.5 years to get it. So, that's one thing we need to consider, and it's not that y'all have to approve that at this point, you would have to approve the financing. You would just have to say, all right, we're in agreement that he can go ahead and start the process to get some quotes of what it's gonna take, what's the truck gonna cost, and then we can bring it back to you.
Drew, in the financing piece, if we were to look at that, do you think it would be the possibility that we could get the same payment plan like we did with the radios? The first payment would be a year later?
All payments are like that,
Okay.
yeah.
Want to
That's
make
just
sure.
All financing is like that.
Yeah.
So that's what I said, if we order it now,
Yeah.
we get the truck in July of 28, the first payment is July of 29. But I would say we want to receive the truck in July, because that's the first month of the budget year, that buys us another year. If we get the truck in May or June, then it's that very next budget. So,
Let's, I'm gonna ask the board this. Let's look at something at the retreat.
okay,
Let's package up something, we'll have some time between now and the March retreat.
all right, and pretty much now we would just need consensus to go forward, get some prices, what's the time frame, and then it would be up to the board to approve, yeah, no.
Well, that's what I was gonna ask the board. Did we get consensus is to go ahead, get some pricing, let's look at some timelines and bring those proposals to the retreat.
All right,
Everybody
that
good
was a
with
good
that?
question, Joanne.
All right.
Any other questions on the bond financing or property tax?
I just have one. Now, on the bond finance, if we do a bond referendum, how would we pay that back? Would that be increasing taxes for the next few
That would be
years?
the same thing as this type of bond.
Okay,
All the referendum does is it's citizen input voting whether to do it or not.
okay. What was that first figure for 10 million? You said 3 point?
So 3.12 cents
Okay,
would cover $10 million.
and 15 was 5.83 and 20 was 8.56.
Yes. And those are estimates as well. And after the reval, like I said, the reval is a game changer. Those numbers could be low. Because 1 cent a tax, that's at 1 cent a tax is 139,000 for those of them. If after the reval, for instance, what I came up with today was 1 cent a tax is 185,000, those cents go lower. Because 1 penny gives us more money.
There's two options on bonds, on the bond piece. There's the option of referendum, which will be on the November ballot, but that delays the funding of when we can actually get.
And it's a lot more work.
And it's a lot more work, and it's costly. Or the other option, which is board approved. And we move forward from there. And we get that, it's less cost, less time, and the money is quicker to facilitate the projects.
Right, we're still looking at Parks and Rec and streets, is what we would do with this money.
Primarily, Parks and Rec and infrastructure.
And what Lamarco presented tonight are his top priorities. Those were the type of things that we would look at funding.
We have to vote on this.
Not tonight, but
Well,
at
good.
some point. Yeah,
It doesn't have to be like in the next month.
pretty much after the March retreat
Yes.
is where I would like to have one of two things. What projects, and this is the direction we want to go.
Because we'll have the reval numbers at the retreat.
Yes.
And so that'll be the.
And I can
that'll
give
be
you some
the-
better figures.
Yeah, and that'll be where we'll discuss this further.
Yeah, I was hoping to have those before tonight, but they don't have, the county doesn't have ready yet.
Anything else before we move on to, CIP? Okay,
Okay, CIP. And I don't know if y'all remember, last year we renamed it the Community Investment Plan. It just sounds like more buy-in from the town. I like it a lot better. I hope y'all do. So, think about it. Hope Mills 2030. That's what this CIP will go for, 2025 to 2030. We need to think, what do we want our town to be in 2030? What projects do we want to try to complete between now and then? We're not gonna be able to do all of them, because this is kind of a wish list. It's kind of, our Christmas list of all the different things that we want to do, because it helps with grants. If one of their first questions is this project in your CIP? Yes, it is. We know that it's not gonna happen in the next 5 years unless we get funding, but it's in our book. So I've made a list of all the different things tonight. We'll be getting with the departments during the month of February, so that at the March retreat, we'll have the 25 community investment plan completed. But as far as the council, what do you want 2030 to look like for Hope Mills in the next 5 years? You've seen what we've done in 1 year. What can we do in the next 5? Is what this CIP is gonna have in it.
I hope I'm waking up every day.
Hopefully for the next 5 years. So, to me, this is an important CIP and what we're gonna have in it. So if there's certain things that the council wants to see in this that might not already be in there, go through last year's, look at it. All the stuff that was brought up tonight, we're gonna add to it. I'm gonna get each department head in February, any other things that they come up with. But what are some things that you want to see in the CIP that's currently not in here, that we can say, hey, we want to look at this between now and 2030?
everybody has a copy, right? Want to make sure everybody.
It is online if you don't have
It's
it.
online as well. When do you need that feedback?
I would probably need it by the first week of February.
Okay.
Because I take the month of February to put it all together and make it work. And then, as you know, somebody's gonna think of something in the middle of February, and I'm gonna have to make some changes.
Well, there's a-
I try to get it as current as possible by the time and then usually by the time I get it to you, it changes the next day.
First week of February, is that good for everybody?
Actually, the first meeting,
Yeah, we can do it there.
If you have something, just bring it to the first meeting in February. We don't have to have an agenda item, but just have it to me, maybe emailed or something, copy Chancellor and Ashley on your emails and things that you would like to see in it, so that we can try and get.
I'll get you on that. I would like to include feedback from the community. And if there's something that they would like to see, they could also
I would say
send an
maybe
email or.
give you that information and then you give it to us.
Yeah.
Because if we just open it up to the community, but that's.
Because, I mean, we have a website, Engage Hope Mill, so, I mean, we could use it as a platform there to capture. But there's a lot of our citizens, they probably don't even know where the CIP is located on the website. And they may have great suggestions that we don't see.
Right, but it's big ticket items.
Yeah, it's big stuff.
Yeah.
LaMarco?
The only thing I want to add is, an approved CIP is required for part two. I need that by May, so, Jewish Sherman is going to be voted on in March. We just want to let you all know that, Harris Park needs to be in that, and then, our commitment to match our portion is a requirement of part two grant. I know the grant writer was, concerned that we weren't going to have that, but, you know.
Oh, we will.
And what we do with the things,
Oh,
we
we
don't
will.
have y'all
We will.
approve this like an ordinance, like the budget, because then if we were to change it, it's a budget amendment, just like we do with the annual budget. I don't want to have to take it to that extreme, so we just have y'all accept it as presented, instead of approving it with the ordinance. Which counts for what LaMarco needs to do.
Yeah. Because LaMarco, you're gonna be submitting that part of the grant. What, May?
We should submit it then.
Well, the first review is March, and then the final submission is May.
Yeah.
Yeah, the review is actually, it's courtesy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the final will go in May. All right.
I see Heritage Park Phase 2 is in here, and it is at that amount that he has, the 1.773. So, we'll just update it. Probably put that map in it if we don't have that one in there, so.
Yeah.
That was already in there.
Last item,
Questions on
Bruce.
CIP?
Anything else? Last item.
All right. Ashley is sorry she could not be here today. She had a death in the family. She called me this morning. Her aunt died, yesterday, and, they were very close. So it was, I could tell she was not her normal self when we were talking on the phone, but nevertheless, she wanted to be here. And so I got some notes from her that she would have brought up. The first thing we need to do is start a visioning session with the town council. And we are going to need some dates, and if we want to try to do that tonight, or if we could get some consensus this week, because she would like to start as soon as possible. Meaning, she would like to start next week or the week after that, week of the 20th or the week of the 27th. And what she needs is a meeting, a visioning session with the council for about 2.5 hours, when y'all are available. So think about that for a second. The second thing she needs is a visiting session with staff for about 2.5 hours. And she would do that within the next couple of weeks as well. She would like to do the council first. Once that's scheduled, have on with the staff. And the same day that she's doing it with the staff, we were going to do the town tour today before this meeting, but we would do the town tour and possibly start the one-on-one meetings with the council. She's going to vision session with y'all as a group, and then meet with y'all individually a little bit later. And then the third thing, and I sent her, Parks and Rec sent an email out today with some spring events coming. She wants to start planning the community engagement process. So any town event that's happening between now and the next few months, figure out how to engage the community and get some of their input. But the main thing for y'all right now is to come up with when would be a good time for 2.5 hours with the council for a visioning session.
Can we do that before a board meeting?
We could do it, if we had to, we could look at January 21st before that meeting. I don't know if this is too close to that date and get a notice out, or
February.
we could say, hey, let's do it before the February meeting.
Yeah, that's.
She wants to start as soon as possible, but if that's as soon as we can do it, that's as soon as we can do it.
That's actually still working out.
Was that February 3rd?
That's good. Did we meet with her prior to our February 3rd board meeting? Say,
4 to 6:30? We beat it. That'd be 4, that'd be the 2.5 hours, and then the 30-minute break between then and the evening.
okay,
Want to try for that?
what's the consensus of the board? For February 3rd at 4. Everybody good? Okay, Ashley. All right.
She may be watching us, so.
She may be.
I told her to pull up YouTube. Okay, the other thing then would be, and we can schedule this, is the visioning with staff. And I'll get with her and say, if we do the council on February 3rd, what does her schedule look like after that? And then we'll pick out a few days and maybe get back to you and say, okay, these are the days that she's available for staff, and to start the one-on-ones and see if that works with your schedule. I'll get back to you on that.
You know, this would really be good, an opportunity to wrap this up prior to the retreat.
That's what happened.
Yeah. Yeah, we need to really kind of strive to do that.
But the strategic plan, y'all asked to do this. Ashley's been waiting to do this for several years. I'm glad we're finally getting to it myself so we can get this. I think it'll be key to the town. And another thing, once it's finished, then I've seen another town use theirs to extent that every agenda item that was presented to the board ties into one of the strategic plan identifiers. How does this, what's the town approving? That helps go towards our strategic plan.
All mapping.
Yeah. So, unless y'all have any other questions about that, that's all I have. So I'm going to invite you over. Did I not even have it on? I talked to you. We don't need to hear you talk about.
It might have died. It has a short lifespan.
Oh, the battery's dead.
Yeah.
All right, thanks. I just want to take this time to commend our staff. They do a hell of a job for the town. I want to highlight a few things because I don't think people realize how often they assist each other. When Beth was talking about her stormwater fund, she's specifically talking about Public Works and Lamarco's department and how she can actually fund their projects in a way that does not take out the general fund. When you're hearing about, I'm going to say her name, I know she's probably watching the Claire House did pass a level 1 building inspector's test. And I got to give kudos to Kenny because his department cross-trains our code enforcement officers. There's a lot of things people don't see that we do. And I just want to take this time to thank our staff with this presentation. Even though it's 61 slides, I didn't get one ounce of resistance. We sent out an email. I think I maybe sent out one email and I got everything I needed from my staff in record time. And so I want the public and I want our board to know the level of dedication that our department heads and our staff provide for this. And I want to say thank you for providing us with the ability to provide this information to you guys so you guys can actually make the tough decisions that you do. So thank you. Thank you, Chancellor. In all the years that I've served on this board, I think this year is the closest that I have seen to the cohesion between all the staff and the department heads that are in this room. And I will extend that to this board as well. It's been a very productive year in the direction that we changed and we went in this time last year. And the headwinds we were faced with this time last year. And we weathered through them. And we've done some phenomenal things in a year. We truly, truly have. Is there some things that we probably could have done a little better? Yeah. Did we learn from them? You better believe we did. But I think it's those lessons that makes us stronger. And it's that trust that we have with each other in this room that, to me, I didn't have this trust when I was up commissioner on board. I didn't feel it that way because everything was in a vacuum or it was behind curtains but here we are, we're open and transparent with each other in this room. And that's a testament to the dedication of each of you for serving the town and serving the citizens. If you look at that slide up there, and that's why this was the last one, that's where the hard decisions are going to be made, is on that slide. Because we've got a lot of heavy stuff here that we need to look at funding. Because we've got a growing community. We've got equipment, we've got expansion, we've got growth, we've got something Chief wants to do with 24/7 operations. We've got a property tax reeval coming. But we've got to be smart on what we fund and how we fund it. And that's the only thing that I really wanted to share. And I think we can do that. In fact, I know we can do that because we've been doing it collaboratively all year. Any other comments from the board? I've said enough. You good? Anything? No? 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 All right. Thanks, everybody. We're adjourned.